What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4 id. Chapter 76. Advertise here. Yo. Luo Yi waved his hand at the dragon, and the dragon looked at Loyal lying dead on the ground for a few seconds before turning his head to look at Luo Yi and saying, "Why kill him? Luo Yi, huh, this guy, because he deserves to die. He shot me inexplicably. I can't say it's okay, forgive him if I didn't die." Luo Yi waved his hand. What? How can you unilaterally trust a person's rhetoric? Leader. This is really difficult. The young man who was just getting ready to do it, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo pressed his hat down and looked at the stare between Luo Yi and the dragon. Many revolutionary soldiers shouted at the dragon. "Just shoot at you. Do you want to kill him? He is a soldier of our Revolutionary Army. Luo Yi, how can you kill your colleagues?" Long's eyes condensed, and a terrifying aura radiated from his body. "Did you make a mistake?" A more terrifying aura erupted from Luo Yi, and the terrifying aura swept across the audience. The revolutionary base built underground began to have cracks everywhere. The aura of the dragon was instantly crushed back into the body by Luo Yi, and he couldn't help it. Behind 09 staggered back 2 steps. What a terrifying aura. Unexpectedly, the leader's aura was forced back. Is this the power of the man wanted by the world government as celestial dragons? Numerous soldiers of the Revolutionary Army were all pushed out by Luo Yi's aura and slammed heavily on the wall. Everyone felt difficulty in breathing. So strong. It's even stronger than Mr. Long. But I also have my pride. Sabo held his arms in front of him, and after only 10 steps back, he exploded to support himself not back. Okay. Luo Yi glanced at Sabo who was resisting his aura, and a burst of conquerors burst from his body, mixed with aura, and rolled towards Sabo. What? Bump. Sabo was blown directly out by Luo Yi conquerors. After turning over and landing in the air, Sabo felt that conqueror's haki was squeezing his body. This is too scary. Just relying on conquerors and momentum made himself a little difficult to breathe. If he really fought against each other, he might not even be able to hold a single blow. Luo Yi. After the dragon was just repelled by Luo Yi's momentum, he saw that his lover was suffering from Luo Yi's conqueror's baptism. Conqueror's haki also burst out of his body and slammed into Luo Yi's conqueror's haki. Worthy of being a man who was previously called the world's most murderous criminal by the world government, he should have such a degree of conqueror's haki. Momisagi glanced at Conqueror's full-out dragon, then turned to glance at Luo Yi, who was calm beside him, and a blush appeared on his face. But no matter what, it cannot be compared with Luo Yi. No, to be precise, there is no man in the world who can compare with Luo Yi. I really like Luo Yi. Luo Yi, who was watching the dragon erupt Conqueror's haki, didn't know that Momisagi next to him was confessing crazy to him in his heart. What's wrong? Angry. Dragon. Luo Yi's conqueror's haki has been growing along with the growth of the dragon's conquerors, and has always maintained a bit stronger than the dragon's conquerors. Luo Yi, your attitude. It's been this way since childhood. It seems that I have to teach you a lesson. The constant expression of the dragon 10,000 years finally became angry. Instead of only competing with Luo Yi in conqueror's haki, he slowly began to make an attacking posture. Are you going to fight me for this guy? Luo Yi raised his finger and pointed at Loyal lying on the ground. That's also a soldier of the Revolutionary Army. The dragon poses in the pose of a dragon grasping hand, which is also a dragon grasping hand, but the strong feeling from the dragon's body is completely different from that of Sabo, which is like a strong contrast between a cat and a tiger. Seeing the dragon posing for combat, Luo Yi still put his hands in kabuto and looked at the dragon lightly. The soldiers of the Revolutionary Army want to be like celestial dragons. If people on your side think so, then your Revolutionary Army should stop playing. Luo Yi shook his head with disappointment and said to Long. Even if you tried your best to overthrow the current world government and establish another similar world government. It's just that the people standing on top of the top have changed a group of people, it's better to let the current world government exist. What did you say? Long looked at Luo Yi in shock, and looked at Luo Yi's disappointed expression. He remembered his original intention to establish a revolutionary army because his younger brother complained to him about all kinds of mistakes in the government of the world. What is the result of the government and let the slaves? The system kept it. What rubbish celestial dragons, even though he was just listening to his brother at the time. But many of them are in my heart. After Luo Yi was defeated by Garp and imprisoned in Impel Down, he began to build a revolutionary army alone. Even let Ivankov sneak into Impel Down, but now his brother denies his many years of hard work. Wait, Loyal wants to be celestial dragons. Sabo's surprised words awakened the wounded dragon. Long quickly raised his disappointed face and looked at Sabo who had just spoken. He recalled Luo Yi's words in his mind. Wait, Luo Yi, what did you say? Loyal he want to become celestial dragons. Why do you say that? Long looked at Luo Yi questioningly, and he had probably imagined the development of the matter in his mind. Loyal can also be considered an early member of the Revolutionary Army, because his hometown was ordered to be eliminated by celestial dragons because of the improper reception of celestial dragons at the time, and Loyal 133 survived by chance. Later, When he encountered his revolutionary army in the early days of establishment, he was brought into the revolutionary army by the commander of the Southern Army because he himself had a strong hatred for celestial dragons. But this individual is good at graceful flattery, and at the back, he is the comrades who joined after instructions from the so-called predecessor. Although he has always promoted his hatred of celestial dragons and the world government, he himself is also unscrupulously craving for power. Unexpectedly, they had been working to overthrow the rotten world government, but before the results were fully effective, the initial stage of decay appeared in their team. Sorry, Luo Yi, it's my fault this time. The dragon lowered his head to apologize to Luo Yi, and Luo Yi looked at the mature a lot. The middle-aged dragon also sighed. Really, any organization will have scum. Do you think about what kind of existence will become after the overthrow of the world government? If not, I dare not say all of them, but there are definitely many people who want to become the new celestial dragons. Quote. Long looked at Luo Yi in a black suit in front of him, and his words also slammed into his heart. The dragon-slaying warrior will one day become a new evil dragon. This is not just a fairy tale. Luo Yi's eyes were scrutinized, and he looked at Dragon and everyone with a smile but a smile. For a while, everyone who was oppressed could not breathe. Chapter 77. Advertise here. Luo Yi's words of condemnation made Long Chu stay in place like a thunderbolt, and he stopped talking. I kept thinking back to the original intention of establishing the revolutionary army in my mind. Everyone used freedom to fight against the brutal world government, and what they were seeking was freedom. But people like myself have never thought about what they will do when the world government is truly overthrown. These years, they have been revolutionizing everywhere just for the survival of the revolutionary army. You are talking about changing the world, but most of the time you just reject the cruelty of this world. You really want to overthrow the corrupted world government. But you have never thought about what kind of world government you will set up after the end of the world government. Quote. Luo Yi's gentle but extremely heavy words continued to ring in the ears of the revolutionary army who slowly gathered, with a bewitching charm. Dragon, why do you think this world government cares about your revolutionary army, but it's not hysterically looking for you and extinguishing you? What? Why don't you care about it but don't concentrate all your energy to fight it out? To put it simply, their revolutionary army is aimed at overthrowing world power, and it will directly shake the power group ruled by celestial dragons, but in fact, they have no more cards than pirates. Just like the battle between Marine Headquarters and Whitebeard in Marineford not long ago, four emperors can make Marine a big enemy, but their revolutionary army can only make Marine feel a headache. Long had never thought about this problem. He had always just gathered his companions and kept overthrowing some rotten countries. But many times the world government just watched them overthrow a few countries, and did not make more fierce counterattacks. Sometimes he is puzzled, but today he finally met Luo Yi. Why? Long Shensheng asked, his expression more solemn than ever. Luo Yi smiled and said, of course it's because what you did was nothing but a similar thing they did 800 years ago. The world government was jointly established by 20 countries 800 years ago. There are other governments or other things that exist. They look at you as if they were looking at themselves 800 years ago, but your internal immaturity, the person who controls the world government, sees it very clearly. So in their eyes, you can be regarded as having a bit of climate now, but you are limited to a bit of climate. Think about it carefully. When you are revolutionizing in non-participating countries, does the world government care about you? If you hadn't pried the corner to their franchise countries, they would never have targeted you like they do now. Quote. Luo Yi thought of the woman on the throne who had invited herself to become celestial dragons, and couldn't help but want to complain. World government does not rule the world. How powerful do you think they can be? The world government is nothing more than a combination of franchise countries. It is essentially an alliance composed of 20 kingdoms that has developed into an alliance of hundreds of countries today. You can't directly intervene in the affairs of the participating countries, and you have to protect the security of the participating countries, just like collecting protection fees. And not only does it not intervene, but sometimes it has to wipe the ass of the high-level members of the participating countries. Just like the country of Frevens, you know that this stuff is harmful, and the high-level officials of the kingdom sell it. You don't take your own people seriously. You count on the world government to take your people seriously. It's not bad if you don't have a cup of soup. Of course, the reality is that the world government is still going to share the pie. It is not a franchise country that the world government cannot manage them if they can't manage them. It is already a great gift for these disobedience without directly extinguishing them on the bright side. The proliferation of so many pirates on the sea is the reason for the governance of the respective kingdoms, and the factor that the world's power belongs to itself. World government is really not the father of this world. When Luo Yi first came across to become Marine, he wondered for a long time. After all, there was something to look for the concept of ZF, he also got deep into his bones, and later he slowly changed it. Do whatever you want in your hometown, you can't count on the powers of this world anyway. The only thing the world government can manage is their own direct agency. To be precise, there is only Eni's lobby they can manage. Shichibukai. Does Shichibukai manage the world government? Marine. What kind of virtues Marine Luo Yi knows best? Which is not a violation of Yang and Yin. If he hadn't done too much back then, he rushed to Mariajoy and killed the celestial dragon's aristocrat. If you silently kill celestial dragons while the world government is not paying attention, let alone Garp, even Sengoku, Zephyr, and Kong Kong will help them solve some troubles, leaving the world government speechless. We are making this revolution for freedom. Luo Yi's words caused a huge turmoil in Long's heart. Sabo saw his teacher start to be turbulent and directly shouted to Luo Yi. Freedom. Huh. Hearing Sabo's words, Luo Yi also smiled sarcastically. Quote question mark. Don't talk to lousy about long live freedom. Freedom. What is freedom? Is it the kind of freedom that this person has nothing, but he is free? Quote. Whatever you want is freedom. The wild dogs on the roadside are freer than anyone else. Compared to humans, these wild dogs should be synonymous with freedom. This, Luo Yi's words directly choked young Sabo. Compared to freedom, I believe in self-discipline, but human beings are also beasts in nature. The premise of self-discipline also requires order to be maintained. Quote. Backquote. Has the order of your revolutionary army been established successfully? And to succeed in the revolution, you need to have a powerful force that can suppress the world. You just think that if you overthrow the world government, the world will be peaceful. Don't dream, it's not about defeating the world of the Devil King. Just a peaceful game. Seeing the silent revolutionaries before him, Luo Yi also sighed. After joining Marine a few years later, he became Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, and after traveling many places in the world. Luo Yi understands that this world is completely different from the world in the previous life, and the world government is really not capable of much. Single quote. Many times in a world, power represents everything. If you don't have power, even if you shout for justice, you will be hacked to death by a passing pirate. If you are strong enough, you can even catch the pirate and let him shout justice. Let's stop the boring discussion, I'm just spitting out boringly. After all these years of detention, it's normal to complain, right? You don't need to care too much. Quote. Luo Yi waved his hand and looked at the dragon completely lost in thought. The strange smile on the corner of his mouth flashed away. Hip hop. The boys have been back after a long time, good job. At this moment, Ivankov finally rushed over and looked at the broken door and the sluggish crowd at the door. Several huge question marks could not help but appear above his head. Dragon. Everyone. Ah, it's Ivan, you're back. Looking at the dragon in front of him, the dragon finally recovered, and after another goalkeeper explained, everyone realized that they had really misunderstood Luo Yi, and they confessed to Luo Yi. Luo Yi didn't care about their apologies, even their existence itself. Luo Yi himself came here to see his brother he hadn't seen for many years. Father. Luo Yi, do you want to join the revolutionary army? Inside the office, he opened the door and entered. Looking seriously at Luo Yi who was sitting across from him drinking tea, he asked seriously. Hearing what the dragon said, Luo Yi suddenly showed a subtle disgust on his face. In the gaze of the dragon's gaze, Luo Yi thought carefully for a while, and then spoke euphemistically. Do not want. Dragon. Chapter 78. Advertise here. East Blue, Tequila Wolf. The Kingdom of Bridges, also known as the Labor Country, is a country on bridges, where the longest bridge in the world is built. The construction of this bridge began 700 years ago, and as more and more people were brought here, it gradually formed a country on the bridge. Most of the country is the people and criminals of countries that refuse to join the world government. People are forced to build bridges every day. There is no term life here. For most people, they are just one-off goods. On the white snowy ground, the cold wind blew, several white bones were blown up by the cold wind, and fell straight towards the unfrozen sea below. Question mark. People wearing cotton clothes, no matter how heavy the cold wind and snow are, they can only do the same thing every day and night under the rule of the army under the jurisdiction of the world government. Nico Robin, there is such a tricky guy. As the chief caretaker of this place, he was extremely nervous about Robin's arrival. Question mark. I heard that he sank 6 warships when he was 8 years old. If she is allowed to escape from prison, this country will be overthrown immediately, and she must not be known to others, maybe she should be killed now. Speaking of this, the chief guard raised his knife and fork and slammed it on the table, exuding a touch of murderous aura. For the chief caretaker, guarding this country can be described as an excellent job. Not only can he get great wealth every day, but also have supreme power. If anyone blocks his way of making money, even his brothers will not hesitate to kill him. Special Imprisonment Tower. A tower of hundreds of meters stands beside the bridge. How about Nico Robin? How do Seastone's handcuffs feel? Robin, who was arrested, was being restrained by Seastone handcuffs at the moment. He was tied to the stool by the jailers and placed on the vent. The violent cold wind blew Robin, who was only wearing thin clothes. But this kind of torture, for Robin, who has already experienced countless sufferings, is just itchy, raising his head indifferently and saying, it's okay, but there are really men who can't give gifts. Question mark. Damn it. Being taunted by a criminal, the jailer suddenly became angry, lifted the iron rod in his hand and waved it at Robin. Bang. A black shadow flew out and hit the wall heavily. The powerful impact force even knocked out a large hollow hole in the wall. As for the jailer, he was already dead and could not die again. You can't be so rude to ladies, really. Luo Bing raised his head and looked at the man in black suit who came in from the door. It was Luo Yi who reached an agreement with Long to free the prisoners here. When Luo Yi reached the island, he noticed that there was a lot of aura at the high tower, so he rushed over, just in time to rescue Robin, who was almost beaten. You are. The pupils of Robin's eyes widened, he looked at Luo Yi's face in front of him, and remembered the newspaper he had just read 2 days ago. The wanted order on the newspaper directly overlaps the man's face. Huh, long time no see, you've grown up, Ohara's survivor, Nicole Robin. Luo Yi stepped forward, raised his right hand wrapped in red light and gently pressed it towards the seastone handcuffs. The seastone, which is comparable to the hardness of diamonds, broke easily and fell to the ground. Luo Yi removed the cloak behind his back and put it on Robin, who was wearing thin clothes. Monkey D. Luo Yi. Robin tightened his cloak tightly and looked at the man in front of him. It was this man who rescued himself under Admiral Aokiji 20 years ago and is now wanted by the world government, and his surname is like Luffy, 2 people. Is there any connection? Huh, what's the matter? I won't fail to recognize my savior. I kindly let it go back then. Question mark. Sister, where are you? Suddenly, a clear cry from outside the prison tower interrupted Luo Yi's words. Robin's face changed, and he quickly raised his head to look out of the window, and shouted worriedly, Solon, where are you? Seeing Robin's worry, Luo Yi's eyes flashed with doubts about who was outside and how could Robin worry so much. Click. At this moment, the gate of the prison opened, and a short figure dressed in a criminal costume rushed in from the gate. This was a little girl with pale yellow hair. He saw Robin, a little girl. Very excited, ran over. Robin, who found the little girl, also looked very excited. He bent down and hugged the rushing little girl and touched the little girl's head. Robin asked concerned. Solon, why are you here? Someone helped me. The little girl named Suolin looked back towards the door. Luo Yi followed and saw a jailer standing there. Grasping the clothes in his hand, the jailer opened his jailer uniform to reveal a figure wearing a bunny hat. Seeing this scene, Luo Yi narrowed his eyes and muttered with a voice that only he could hear, Revolutionary Army. Since there is a revolutionary army here, why does Long ask me to solve the situation here? The soldier of the Revolutionary Army, without taking care of Lin Tian and the others, hurriedly ran towards the cell and released the old man in the cell. The old man squinted his eyes and walked out with his hands behind his back. The first sentence was indeed to Luo Yi. Young man, although I don't know how you broke into here, our Revolutionary Army needs talents like you, or join us. Hearing that, Luo Yi's face remained the same, but he was a little funny in his heart. It was not because he was wooed by Dragon's Revolutionary Army subordinates, but because of his arrogant attitude towards the old man and the look in the old man's eyes. Luo Yi noticed the greed in the eyes of the squinting old man. Forget it, I won't go, I'm not interested. Shaking his head, Luo Yi looked at the greed in the old man's eyes and immediately postponed his refusal. Just kidding, I don't like your boss's invitation, let alone you, and your eyes are wrong. Question mark. Well, then, let's go now. Seeing Luo Yi's refusal, the old man did not continue to invite, and said to the revolutionary soldiers who came to rescue him. Let's go. Seeing the rapid pace of the 2 people leaving, Luo Yi stepped forward and said to Robin. Solon, let's get out of here. Robin stood up and responded, holding the little girl's hand. Watching the 2 leave, the little girl named Suolin turned her gaze on Luo Yi and said curiously with her bright and big eyes turned her head. Who is this brother? Before Robin could speak, Luo Yi walked up and looked at the cute look of the little girl. He couldn't help but stretch out his hand and gently pinch the little girl's nose. A common rider passing by, remember it for me. Chapter 79. Advertise here. Common rider. Brother, you don't wear a mask. Brother, are you a knight? What is your relationship with Robin's sister? The little girl talked to Luo Yi and asked this question endlessly. Luo Yi explained with a smile. I am the benefactor of your big sister, I have known each other a long time ago. But for the rest of the questions, wait for us to leave here, and then explain to you. Luo Yi finished speaking. Luo Yi stretched out a double search, grabbed Robin and the little girl, their figures flashed, and the 3 returned to the flat ground outside where the snow drifted. What's going on? How did we get to the outside at once? The little girl's face is full of strangeness, she just feels that the foreground object turns, and she will come here when she reacts. Although she didn't know what happened, she knew in her heart that the man who claimed to be the benefactor of her sister was very strong. This is teleportation. Robin sighed in surprise. Compared to the little girl's naivety and ignorance, Robin knew that this level was not something ordinary people could easily do. He and Solon didn't feel any discomfort with this move, and deserved to be rewarded. A man of 6 billion Baileys. At this moment, the 2 revolutionary soldiers who had escaped from the prison just ran out of the gate. They were suddenly startled when they saw Luo Yi who were already outside. They are not like little girls who don't know anything. With just this hand, they have realized in their hearts that the man they had previously invited is an extremely terrifying and powerful person. Thinking of this, cold sweat rushed down from the forehead of the old Revolutionary Army man. He was so arrogant about such a strong person before, and his own inner thoughts would not be known to this person. Question mark. Come on, Nico Robin must not be escaped from here. Suddenly, In the building complex in front of them, a large group of jailers carrying guns rushed out shouting Robin's name. Haha, you are so popular now. Luo Yi turned around and smiled and said to Robin. Question mark. What? You are Nico Robin. The two revolutionary forces were startled. Obviously they had heard of Robin's name. For the revolutionary forces, this name had an unusual meaning. Slash wave. With red and black thunder lights on his body, Luo Yi raised his right hand with a wave, and a dazzling black and red slash shot out. The dazzling slash instantly turned many rushing jailers into dust without even screaming. At the moment Luo Yi started, Robin quickly bent down and hugged Solon, using his body to prevent Solon from seeing everything. Robin didn't want this tragic scene to tarnish Solon's pure heart. Wow, it's terrible, so strong. The momentum of the slash frightened the two revolutionaries and slumped on the snow. Standing up, Robin said to Luo Yi. Master Luo Yi, I owe a favor to the people here. Can I pay them back? Well, it's more rounded than when I was a kid, Nicole Robin, no longer the little girl who yelled to kill Aokiji. But let me do this kind of thing, after all, I promised someone, and you were too slow to do it. Quote. Luo Yi nodded, naturally understanding the implication in Robin's tone. Under the dim yellow light, Luo Yi and Robin took Solon and were about to walk towards the place where the jailers were. However, the two revolutionary army behind them suddenly stood up from the ground and stretched out their hands to call Robin. Nicole Robin, you can't leave here, Chief Martif has always wanted to find you. Question mark. The sudden stop of the two revolutionary troops behind caused Luo Yi and Robin to stop and turn around to look at the two behind. Luo Yi suddenly remembered something when the two revolutionary soldiers called out the name Maratov, his eyes condensed slightly. Obviously, the name represented an unusual meaning. The tone of the two revolutionary army purely commands made Robin unhappy, and the tone was naturally unkind, saying, I don't seem to be a subordinate of your revolutionary army, Nico Robin, and I don't need to follow your orders. Question mark quote. This. The moment he said this, the revolutionary army regretted it. How could he say what he was thinking of when he was excited, not to mention whether Nicole Robin could be dealt with, even the man next to him he is also a terrifying powerhouse. Ah, seeing and feeling the fear of the other party, Luo Yi also laughed mockingly, remembering what Dragon had said when he was pleased. A cadre of our revolutionary army named Maratov, because he is far away from our headquarters. So I could not help but gave birth to two hearts, claiming to be the leader of the revolutionary army on the East Blue side. It seems that what you said did happen in our revolutionary army, and in the plan between me and the bear, Luffy's companion Nicole Robin will also appear there, so can I ask you for these two things, Luo Yi? Quote. 0. Look for flowers. When the revolutionary man saw Luo Yi paying attention to himself, his body couldn't help but tremble. He just couldn't see clearly in the dim prison. Now he can see Luo Yi's appearance clearly. He can be wanted by the world government for 6 billion Baileys. Men, definitely can't offend themselves. But thinking of the leader who has been looking for Nico Robin and given the huge reward, facing the reward, the revolutionary army gritted his teeth, but his tone was much lower than before. Ms. Robin, what I said was wrong just now. I apologize here. For Miss Robin's name, everyone in the revolutionary army is deeply in their hearts. For our revolutionary army, Miss Robin is the key to the revolutionary cause. If there is Miss Robin, our revolutionary army will definitely be able to achieve more grand development. Our leader Maratov especially hopes to meet with Miss Robin, so we would like to invite Miss Robin to visit our base as a guest. The revolutionary army's voice is extremely tactful and low-minded, but Robin's mind is obviously not on it, and he looks at each other with doubts. In Robin's perception, isn't the leader of the revolutionary army the only dragon? Where is the leader of Maratov now coming out? Luo Yi glanced at Robin and found that when the other party was also looking at him, he gave Robin a look to keep him still. Luo Yi walked forward a few steps. Are you the subordinates of the Mary Shifu of the revolutionary army? You guy, dare to call our great leader by name. Hearing Luo Yi disrespect the leader so much, the old revolutionary army on the side suddenly lost his mind and shouted angrily. Question mark quote. Ah, with a sneer, a powerful aura came out, as if an invisible pressure was lowered from the sky on the revolutionary army. With a plop, the revolutionary soldier could not bear this force and fell to the ground. The internal organs of the body can't stand such a strong pressure to break. Blood spurted out of his mouth, with visceral pieces in the blood. Although the other leader of the revolutionary army did not fall down, his feet were bent, cold sweat on his forehead kept coming out, blood was flowing out of the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of fear and looked at Luo Yi. The two of them were full of regrets. Why the words but the brain provoke this terrifying existence? Wait, please take a good look at this leader of the revolutionary army. Yi. Chapter 80. Advertise here. Hi. Luo Yi smiled, and it was nothing more than the horrible grin of the devil in the eyes of the other two people. He nodded and begged Luo Yi to take back his momentum. Huh, how about it? Do you want to take a look together? Nicole Robin. Luo Yi straightened up, with a lazy and casual tone, looking sideways at Robin who was holding Solon's hand behind him. Robin nodded immediately and replied. Unexpectedly, you would still ask my opinion. Huh, in your mind, am I a tyrannical person? What a rude, Nicole Robin, anyway, I am also your savior back then. Luo Yi patted the snowflakes falling on his shoulders. Robin looked at Luo Yi in a black suit with a complicated expression. Looking at the man who didn't seem to have changed at all in front of him, even years had never left a mark on him, Robin couldn't help but recall the time when Ohara was destroyed by Buster Call. At that time, Yi Sanchi hid helplessly behind Jaguar D Sol. Looking at the fire and explosion in front of her, she could only cry helplessly. Boom. The explosion of shells was endless. Why should everyone be killed? Obviously we just want to learn history. Little Robin grabbed Saul's trousers tightly and asked him with tears on his face. Saul looked at the little Robin at his feet, turned his head and looked at the warships that were constantly firing at Ohara in the distance. He was also lost in his heart, not knowing how to explain to the young Robin. It's just that you touched something that shouldn't be touched, so those Tianlong trash can't wait to make you disappear into history. Well, Saul, you shouldn't betray justice. Hearing the two voices behind him, Usala could only turn his head helplessly, but still put Robin tightly behind him. It turned out to be you two, Kuzan and Luo Yi. Robin leaned out from behind Usala and looked at the two Marines in front of him, Kuzan in a black trench coat, and Luo Yi in a white suit and cloak of justice. Usala, hand over the little girl behind you, she is also a member of Ohara, can't let her leave here. As the voice uttered, the young and passionate Kuzan had a chill on his body, and he spoke to Usala stiffly. The huge body of Usala continued to block Robin's body. Usala glanced at Kuzan, then turned to Luo Yi, who was looking elsewhere. Mr. Luo Yi, I want to ask you one thing. Huh, what? Luo Yi put his left hand on the handle of the thousand blades of magic sword, and Kabuto with his right hand, looking at the front Marine Vice Admiral in front of him. Please save this child. Usala pointed to Robin behind him and shouted to Luo Yi. What a joke. Luo Yi, don't agree, Usala, as a Marine traitor, do you have to save the people who were ordered to get rid of by the world government this time? Kuzan shouted loudly, the righteous Kuzan. Sure. Luo Yi. Kuzan shouted. What happened afterwards, I quickly recalled in Robin's mind, even though 20 years have passed, the scene of the destruction of his hometown before his eyes has not dared to forget. You are really not a rough person, you just put the 8-year-old me on a small boat and kicked me out of the boat with one foot. Robin looked at Luo Yi with a smile, recalling the feeling he experienced when he was a child. In the past 20 years, I have never experienced the speed that is so fast that I can fly again. Haha, isn't it? Then you have to thank me, after all, I made you feel the experience that others can't feel in your life when you were young. After hearing Luo Yi's answer, even Robin did not twitch the corners of his mouth a few times. Luo Yi looked at the two people who were kneeling in front of him, then looked back at the detention center about a kilometer away from him and others, and drew out the magic knife Chinbian with his right hand, Knight/Wave. A huge slash flew from Luo Yi's thousand-blade magic knife towards the detention center, reaching a distance of thousands of meters in an instant. But the Robin Four only felt a huge storm blowing, their arms resisted in front of them one after another. After waiting for a few seconds, the storm stopped, and the four of them put down their arms in front of them and looked at the scene in front of them. This is really. Robin suddenly lost the words that could be described in his mind. It's amazing. The little girl just looked at Luo Yi with her sword in her scabbard in admiration. The Revolutionary Army duo was directly frightened and fainted. In front of a few people, a huge crack appeared from Luo Yi's feet, and the original snowfield was cut in half by the 1,000-meter-long abyss. Okay, this can be considered revenge for you, now it's time to find that leader. Luo Yi spoke to Robin, and then lightly stepped on the two fainted Revolutionary Army with his feet. Robin was immersed in the horrible scene before her eyes. After all, she had never seen such a horrible scene. 0. Hey. Hey, wake up, asshole, or cut it off. We are awake. When Luo Yi was just about to draw a knife to kill two people, the two quickly stood up from the snow and saluted Luo Yi. Well, hurry up and lead the way, or you will be cut off. Yes, please go here. Gone. Luo Yi watched the two revolutionary soldiers leaving quickly, shouted Robin and followed, and Robin quickly took the little girl's hand and followed. After half an hour, the two revolutionary armies endured the pain in their bodies and brought Luo Yi and others to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army in East Blue. Luo Yi directly ignored the process of the two Revolutionary Army and the Revolutionary Army in the door, kicking the door open, and perceiving the strongest breath inside according to his own experience. Robin hurriedly followed Luo Yi with the little girl. Robin was afraid to leave Luo Yi and ran to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army East Blue. Her strength couldn't be arrogant here. Who dared to break into our branch? Hey, is this guy? That's right, Monkey D. Luo Yi, who was wanted by the world government for 6 billion Baileys. It's terrible. Just looking at him makes his body tremble. Many revolutionary soldiers rushed out from the inside to stop Luo Yi, and Luo Yi's identity was recognized by the soldiers in a short while. Luo Yi watched the more people in front of him come out in 5.7, a faint murderous aura exuded from his body, crushing on the many revolutionary army in front of him. Luo Yi's indifferent murderous aura was not something that the revolutionary army as ordinary people could bear. After a few thumps, several people finally fell to the ground unsupported. Hey, don't you dare to come out. Luo Yi sensed the strongest breath in the base hiding behind the door, did not stand up, and sneered. Long asked me to tell the guy in Maratov to put those little calculations away for me, don't irritate him at this time, he is not afraid of the leaders from all over the place behind him. Once he loses his patience, I will let them understand what regret is, and in a week later he will visit him and let him be prepared. Luo Yi walked out with Nicole Robin and the little girl after speaking, with a pop behind the door. In the East Blue Division, the revolutionary Kadri Maratov was sitting behind the door, kicking heavily. Chapter 81. Advertise here. In the rough seas, the picture turned around. After East Blue had dealt with the matter, Luo Yi took Robin to find Momosuke who was waiting by the sea, and went all the way to New World in the second half of the Grand Line. The dim sky was so dark and heavy that the white moonlight could not penetrate the slightest thick clouds, occasionally thunder flashes, and the dazzling light instantly illuminates the whole world. In the sea where the waves are rolling, a huge luxury cruise ship with a length of 500 meters is lit up at the same time with as many as tens of thousands of lights. The entire cruise ship is surrounded by a burst of colorful lights, with full horsepower and fast rotating propellers, and the huge ship rides the wind and waves. Being on this luxury cruise ship, the waves and squally rains that resemble natural disasters outside did not affect the many passengers on the cruise ship at all. Hello everyone, I am this luxury cruise ship owned by the world's largest shipping king, Umit Nichols, the captain of the Ladinand. Now through the window, everyone can clearly see the squally rain outside. But everyone can rest assured that the huge 500-meter-long hull of Ladinand can't be lifted even by the waves of New World. Quote. Question mark. Next, let everyone enjoy the huge banquet in 09 while enjoying the storm outside. This captain replaces all the crew and wishes everyone a good time. Through the loudspeakers all over the ship, the voice of Captain Nichols spread throughout the captain. Yeah, oye. In the dense crowd, countless people raised their arms, and enthusiastic cheers sounded, and everyone seemed to be in madness. The top floor of the Ladinand is a space that is 300 meters long and 50 meters wide. The huge space is undivided. As the most attractive place on the luxury cruise ship, Ladinand, in this huge space. There is a huge banquet at any time, and this banquet will last from the time the Ladinand sails to the end of the tour. In the huge space, there are huge colorful lights shining everywhere. Deafening and exciting music is playing in the whole space. Thousands of people cheer in this space. There is a high in the center of the space. A huge 9-meter high platform on 3 floors, and in the center of the high platform, there is a lamp post with a few people emitting light. Above the lamp post tens of meters high is a huge ball composed of lights, exuding colorful light. All over the space. Amidst the excitement and sharp music, in one of the corners of the banquet, on a high platform suspended out of thin air, a few seats with a faint light were sitting on it, and only a few high platforms were seated, looking down at what was happening below. This is the VIP area, and only a few luxurious VIPs can be located here. For the crowd falling into the carnival below, this is an out of reach. They sat in their seats and looked at a man in a black suit below. Although the people who reveled below did not notice the man's abnormality, several VIPs saw the presence of the outstanding crowd in the crowd at a glance. Question mark question mark question mark question mark. Momosuke is wearing an extremely elegant evening gown, tight but generous. It not only perfectly embodies Momosuke's figure, but also retains its noble temperament. The whole body pink fabric adds to its noble charm. The slender legs are slightly revealed through the slit-long skirt. Robin stood beside him in a purple dress, and the two complemented each other. At this moment, Momosuke and Robin are sitting there and don't know how many people's eyes are attracted. Everyone is guessing which princess from which country, and only the royal family can cultivate this kind of real noble quality. Momosuke is holding Luo Yi's arm and Robin next to him. After all, the revolutionaries who followed Luo Yi to East Blue are also high-level revolutionary army. They are busy with a lot of things. Now the East Blue affairs have come to an end. Hurried back quickly. Being bored in the cabin, Luo Yi and his party naturally came to the most lively place of the ship. Thousands of people held a banquet in one space. The excitement is beyond words. Luo Yi and others left East Blue and immediately rushed to New World, where they ran into the luxury cruise ship, Ladinand, on an island. So the 3 people who left the revolutionary army boarded the cruise ship bound for the same destination. Unexpectedly, Lord Luo Yi would take us to the entertainment city. What's your tone? Luo Yi is mine, stay away from Luo Yi. And why don't you go with the revolutionary army? Follow us with scornful expression. Hee. It's okay, you won. In my eyes this guy is an 8-year-old girl. Time passed in a blink of an eye during the conversation between Luo Yi and others. In the blink of an eye, time had entered the middle of the night, just when everyone was about to go to the cabin to rest. At this time, the immersive broadcast on the ship sounded again, and the lively banquet hall suddenly calmed down. Question mark quote. Hello everybody, I am the captain of this luxury cruise ship. I want to tell you good news. Because of the storm, the world's largest entertainment ship, the Golden City, the destination that we would arrive at tomorrow, arrived 12 hours earlier. Question mark. Many passengers who have experienced a few seconds of calm, deafening cheers, and plunged into joy. Haha, I thought I would see it tomorrow, but I didn't expect it to be here today. God is really taking care of us. That's the world's largest entertainment city. I really want to enter it right now. I heard that there is gold everywhere, and there is one of the largest gambling houses in the world. There are many people who get rich overnight. I'm here for wealth, wait for my uncle's arrival. Passengers, be quiet. The captain's voice sounded again. The world's largest entertainment city is already right in front of our route, and you can see the whole view of the Golden City through the window. As soon as these words came out, many passengers were stunned, and then a frantic crowd of 137 rushed towards the exit, in order to get a glimpse of the world's largest entertainment city. As for Luo Yi and others in the high-end district, the qualifications came from a certain rich man who planned to deal with Luo Yi before boarding the ship. Naturally, there is no need to be crowded, and the world's largest entertainment city clearly appears in front of everyone through the timely exposed glass. I saw that the squally rains could hardly conceal the dazzling light, and the golden light spread all over the sea. It was a huge ship that could not be described in words, no. The huge size may be more appropriate to describe it as a small island. Compared to the same period last year, the 500-meter-long cruise ship Le Dinand is just a small boat. Pillars of light rise into the sky, like golden spears breaking through the sky, and the shining lights are even several kilometers away. Can shine on everyone's faces. Although the huge body of the ship surprised countless people, in comparison, the light radiated by the shining gold on the entire ship brightened everyone's eyes. The four words of the Grand Tesoro above the bow of the ship, which are recessed inward, are so clear even in the dark, enough to accommodate the entrance of the entire Le Dinand, occupying half of the bow, and the golden light illuminates the sea in front of the bow. It's like the day. The crowd on the deck was stunned for a long time, and the open mouth couldn't be closed for a long time, even if it was reined in, it didn't seem to feel at all. In the tumbling sea, the Le Dinand sailed towards the Golden City at the fastest speed by riding the wind and breaking the waves. Chapter 82. Advertise here. Waves tens of meters high hit the Grand Tesoro, with a loud bang, enough to smash a marine warship to pieces. But facing the huge ship body, it was of no use, and it was difficult to even move. Le Dinand. This is the Grand Tesoro, the world's largest entertainment city. Robin's twinkling eyes were full of shock and surprise. Although I have seen introductions about the world's largest entertainment city in books, and there have been many pictures, although I am shocked through the books, I still don't feel anything. But when the entire giant ship is placed in front of you in this way, the shock brought by the vision cannot be told in words, and it is also not comparable to the small pictures in the books. N. nodded, and Momosugi sighed beside him. I haven't been here for 2 years. I didn't expect it to be much bigger than before. Well, it should be good to get it. Luo Yi mumbled suddenly. Luo Yi, what are you talking about? Luo Yi's final voice was so low, like a mosquito, that Momosugi turned around and asked, while Robin beside him looked at Luo Yi questioningly. Nothing. Luo Yi shook his head and looked at Luo Yi in front of him. Momosugi also smiled. It is not only the world's largest casino, but also an independent kingdom separated from the world government. There is no law here. The rich people beside them made their voices after watching the giant golden ship. Is this the Grand Tesoro, the world's largest entertainment city? It's too big. This is no longer a ship, it's just a huge island. Hey, gold is everywhere, it's great, not losing is a place where people can get rich overnight. Ha ha ha, Laozi's fortune is here. Many veiled gazes stared at Luo Yi's back from the nearby crowd, and Luo Yi didn't care about these gazes at all. Oh, jumping clowns. After a full minute of shock, the many people on the deck of the cruise ship suddenly reacted, but the shock that echoed in the heart for a long time could not dissipate. Even people who have been to the Golden City again saw the terrifying gold-filled ship again, and they couldn't help but feel shocked, not to mention the people they saw for the first time. It felt like the whole world had already found it. There is no one word to describe it. Following the waves, Le Dinand slowly sailed into the huge sea vent at the bow of the ship, and the violent storm suddenly moved away, and a person hiding in the cabin walked out. Their faces are full of excitement and anticipation, just because the outside is so shocking, then the inside will be so shocking, they can't wait. Passing a huge faint light, but not enough to see the surrounding passages, the huge cruise ship Le Dinand slowly entered, the quiet sea water pounding, everyone could not help holding their breath, an atmosphere of invisible tension and expectation echoing in the void. In the huge passage, the light at the end of the passage is getting bigger and bigger, and the expectations on everyone's faces are getting higher and higher. Looking up, Robin asked curiously. If there is no legal protection of the world government here, that is to say, this is a hiding place for any criminals, then how does the master here maintain his governance? I don't know, but what should you pay attention to? What do you think, Dion? Such a huge ship, but the gold that Robin sees from the outside is an astronomical number, and in such a mixed city, how can a master guard this wealth in front of countless careerists? It's not that Luo Yi looks down on the master here. If the rule behind this is 4 emperors Luo Yi, then he won't doubt it. But just an ordinary overlord, how can he have the capital to guard this wealth by virtue of his power? It is necessary to know that the combined value of the gold above is enough to compare with the reward of the entire 4 emperors pirate group, whether there is One Piece's treasure or not. Not allowed. Momosugi's eyes sank. Obviously for the owner here, even Momosugi, who is the former admiral candidate, is a little dignified, just listen to Momosugi's explanation. Although he is not very strong, he is a person who knows how to share without eating alone. A lot of things are not what they seem to be on the surface. It seems that the whole person is ruling the entire city. But even the 4 emperors involved in all aspects behind it will not destroy his rule before necessary. Hey, I am getting more and more interested in this man, Gilder Tesoro. After hearing Momosegi's explanation, Luo Yi also showed an expression of interest. Above this point, I have to say that Luo Yi has a little interest in Gilder Tesoro. After all, to be able to contribute so many benefits, this determination is not something ordinary people can do. At least Luo Yi can't do it. In Luo Yi's view, if you want to get a share of the pie, you can. As long as you take out the corresponding chips or the corresponding strength, I will divide your corresponding profits. If you want to snatch it, even if it is destroyed in the end, it will not be as you wish. As for the invitation to become celestial dragons, forget it, who knows if the woman was deliberately nauseous during the battle. Luo Yi thought to himself. There was a thoughtful look on Robin's face, and then he nodded in a seemingly comprehensible way, and raised his head to speak again. Suddenly, bright lights lit up on the top of the dark passage, and along with the light scattered, there was a rain of golden powder on the top of the head. What, is this true? Someone couldn't believe it as they looked at the golden powder gathered in their palms. Yes, this is real gold powder, real gold powder. A knowledgeable person instantly distinguished it, and immediately shouted with excitement. It's actually true. How is this possible? This handwriting is really too big. It's all mine, all mine. Many people looked greedy and raised their hands high to catch the golden powder falling from the sky. Sure enough, what does this boss want to do? At this moment, watching this scene, even Robin, who was only interested in books, was full of shock, but Luo Yi and Momosegi's eyes were much calmer than everyone else. It's not that Robin's will is not enough, but this scene is really too shocking. In a short time, the entire 500-meter-long luxury cruise ship is basically covered by gold powder, just like a ship made entirely of gold. Even if only gold powder is falling, there are dozens of tons of gold in such a huge area. How much Bailey is worth of such a large amount of gold? Robin knows when he thinks about it, it is enough to buy all the heads of their straw hat pirates, even if it is small, it is indispensable. How many? Hey, one word of advice, if you girl doesn't want to have an accident next, it's better not to touch the gold. Suddenly, Momosegi's vigilant voice sounded, making Robin, who reached out to touch the gold powder for a moment. Although he didn't understand what happened, Robin, who reacted quickly, removed all the gold he had gotten on his body. Use gold powder to help oneself realize one's own fruiting ability. Luo Yi didn't care about the large amount of gold powder falling in front of him, because the gold powder couldn't touch his suit at all. When it was about to fall near his body, it was directly bounced away by an invisible barrier. Chapter 83. Advertise here. While Robin was dealing with the gold powder on his body, the Ladainan finally reached the end of the passage. The tourists only felt a burst of dazzling light and a tingling pain in their eyes. Everyone on the boat couldn't help closing their eyes, but Luo Yi opened his eyes completely indifferently. When the light passed, everyone opened their eyes eagerly. What they saw in front of them shocked them, staring at everything in front of them dumbfounded. I saw that they were in a circular port, and they were full of dazzling light from gold at first glance. Even the water surface docked below was golden yellow, and it was obvious that the shiny gold powder was flowing with the water. I looked up and saw that there were densely packed seats made of gold placed there, like a huge arena, an arena made of gold. In the shocking eyes of many passengers on the cruise ship sailed into the port made of gold, the thick iron anchor sank into the water, and the cruise ship slowly stopped on the shore. The world's largest entertainment city, Grand Tesoro, welcome everyone. In the port, under the reverberating sound of loudspeakers all over the port, passengers were full of smiles, and they couldn't wait to walk down the port down the stairs. It's really amazing. So much gold. The uncontrollable exclamation of many tourists echoed in the port. Everything is so dazzling, it is really a golden city that does not deserve its name. Holding 137 Momosegi tightly, Luo Yi, followed by Robin, and a group of people walked down the special VIP passage on the cruise ship and entered the port. Robin, just like the first time people here, looked curiously at his side. It's really amazing. I didn't expect that there is such a place in New World. I really want everyone to see it together. Looking at all the objects made of gold around him, Robin was so excited that he couldn't help but think of his friends. Momosegi frowned when he heard it before, then turned around and said, "Aren't they all reported in the newspaper yesterday?" Pluton Rayleigh and Whitebeard with straw hat Luffy went to naval headquarters and rang the Oak's clock 16 times. What? Robin was taken aback, his face suddenly showed an apologetic gesture, promised. Sorry, I won't talk about this again in the future. Although I learned that Luffy was planning to meet again in 2 years, I couldn't help but said it when I thought of his companions. But Momosegi was a little bit unhappy when he saw the newspaper. After all, it was Marine Vice Admiral not long ago. How was it not angry that the glorious Oak's clock was played so much? As for Luo Yi, he smiled indifferently. Rayleigh, this insidious guy, will really find time to go over and make trouble while the high-end combat power of this unit is not there. Uncle Sengoku is going to be pissed off, ha ha ha. Robin recalled reading the newspaper on the boat yesterday, while Luo Yi looked at the Golden City twice and said to Momosegi and Robin. Well, let's go and gamble happily in this biggest casino. I remembered the title of God of Gamblers I got a few days ago and the veteran skills I signed in this morning, and the rich man who did his own work on board the ship also provided himself with a lot of Pele. At that time, Chen Daozai could win 37 million with 20 yuan. Luo Yi, with 200 million to win 5 billion is not a problem. Thinking of this, Luo Yi also hummed a little song about the god of gamblers and walked forward. Kindness. Momosugi responded softly. Momosugi is also a headache for Luo Yi, who likes to gamble. When he was at naval headquarters, Luo Yi always took a lot of marines to play cards. I was so angry that teacher Zephyr often practiced Luo Yi solo, but it also caused Luo Yi's strength to grow faster. As a result, teacher Zephyr couldn't beat Luo Yi and couldn't control Luo Yi. Marshal Sengoku also tried many methods at the time, but it was a pity that Luo Yi didn't get in the fumes, so he went his own way. For Luo Yi, who is strong and not very obedient, even if Sengoku loses confidence in the end, as long as it does not affect the task, Luo Yi will get involved. After all, he is a father and son with the same attitude as Garp. You seem to be thinking about something rude. Luo Yi turned his head and looked at Momosugi. He just felt that someone was secretly thinking badly about him. No. You think too much. Seeing Luo Yi turned his head suddenly, Momosugi also took a breath. At this time, Robin walked up and asked Luo Yi in a low voice. In other words, I have never used to ask. Is Lord Luo Yi coming here because of the request of the revolutionary leader, Long? No, it's just that I simply want to come over and play, and I don't listen to his orders, but after all, this is the world's largest entertainment city. Have fun, too, although you don't know what your purpose is for following me. Quote. Luo Yi directly shook his head and replied. So that's it, I understand. Responding softly, Robin took a deep breath and continued to follow Luo Yi's pace with Momosugi. Step on. Luo Yi and his party hadn't walked far, when a slight sound of footsteps sounded. They saw a sexy woman wearing a revealing black dress, exposing large areas of white skin, wearing a pair of orange sunglasses, and full of orange hair stepping on high heels, exuding this infinite charm walked over. The woman raised her hand and gently lifted the red hair behind her, took off the sunglasses she was wearing, bent her waist and smiled and said, unexpectedly, the famous Lord Luo Yi is on the verge of here, it's a great honor. Raising her head, the woman's eyes swept across Momosugi involuntarily. Even as a woman, she couldn't help but marvel at the temperament of Momosugi. As for Robin, it is also a charm that people can't ignore. With a grin at the corner of his mouth, Luo Yi glanced at the woman in front of him and said lightly. Oh, your intelligence surveillance system is doing a good job. I knew about me as soon as I came. What's wrong? If you open such a big casino, won't you shut out people like me wanted by the world government, or do you want to kill me and become celestial dragons? Quote. Master Luo Yi, you really can laugh. The woman's face changed, and she immediately smiled and said, how could Lord Tesoro not give face to Lord Luo Yi? It's really because Lord Gilder Tesoro is now dealing with things and can't get away from it. I know Lord Luo Yi is here and hastily. Ask the little girl to come and receive you. By the way, the little girl hasn't introduced her identity yet. My VIP receptionist, my name is Bakara. According to the order of Gilder Tesoro, we will prepare the most luxurious suite. Later, Lord Gilder Tesoro will come to you in person to make amends. Quote. As for the action against Lord Luo Yi, please rest assured. After all, Lord Gilder Tesoro doesn't care about becoming celestial dragons. Lord Gilder Tesoro is not inferior to the so-called celestial dragons. Woolen cloth. Listening to the other party's words, Luo Yi covered the whole Golden City with his own horror range of sights and hearings. Observation Hockey perceives that this ship has a lot of powerful auras, and there are a few others after he perceives the auras on the 6th floor. Luo Yi's mouth curled up slightly, and an unknown smile flashed across. Luo Yi immediately responded. Well, we happen to be tired too, let's take us to the room first. Okay, then please go here, Master Lin Tian, I will entertain you temporarily. Bakara turned around gracefully, stretched out his white arms, and respectfully made a gesture of kindness to Lin Tian. Chapter 84. Advertise here. Bakara, who claims to be the VIP receptionist in the luxury car Turismo, drove on the broad road of gold casting, and took Luo Yi and his group to visit the Grand Tesoro. Looking at the fast-passing shops, casinos, restaurants, all kinds of shops around him, Robin couldn't help but sigh. It really feels like being in a dream country. Bakara introduced with a smile. No, this is just an ordinary area. After all, this is a huge ship that is 10 kilometers in length. What? 10 kilometers? Robin, who was here for the first time, was taken aback. She used to hide from all over the world and saw all kinds of strange ships, but it was the first time for such a huge ship. Yes, there are not only hotels and shopping malls, but also amusement parks, swimming pools, arenas, theaters, aquariums, and even golf courses. This huge ship has its own country and is an independent country in the world. Here is the world. The government's laws are useless. Even if you are a revolutionary army, world government personnel cannot do anything here. The bow is towed by 2 giant sea turtles and is not affected by ocean currents and wind directions. The Grand Tesoro can reach any sea area in the world. Next, we are going to enter the high-end area, and your suite, Mr. Luo Yi, is in the most luxurious place in the high-end area. Having said that, the powerful tortoise car drove through a city wall at full speed. Compared with the low-level area, the high-level area is a city that is truly made of gold. The houses you can see are all made of gold, not like the low-level area only partially decorated with gold. Living here, you really sleep on gold. Similarly, as a high-level area, the cost here is high, unless some expensive entrepreneurs, high-level and royal families living in various countries, of course, there will be no shortage of pirates. It is an undeniable fact that the pirates are the richest group of people in the world. Of course, pirate groups like Luffy and the others are still rare. It deserves to be a golden city, there is gold everywhere in the city. Momosuke leaned close to Luo Yi's arms, and his curious eyes quickly swept around. Of course, Lord Gilder Tesoro, the ruler here, is a figure who loves gold very much. So he collected gold from all over the world to build such a dream country made of gold, Bakara introduced with a smile. Looking up at the image of a man in a white dress playing on the huge screen, Robin asked curiously, what kind of person is Gilder Tesoro? Just as Kabbalah was about to speak, Momosuke suddenly explained, this guy is the king of this independent kingdom. He is known as the world's recognized king of entertainment. He is said to be an artist standing on stage. When Momosuke said this, Luo Yi raised his head to look at the guy on the screen like a bag, disdainfully interjected, but in my opinion, if a romance uses thousands or hundreds of tons of gold as props, even a pig can do it. Excited the audience. Hee. Hearing Luo Yi's description, Robin suddenly covered his mouth and chuckled. The crisp laughter was so harsh for Kabbalah. As Gilder Tesoro's subordinate, he was mocking his master behind him. But Kabbalah clearly understands the gap between him and Luo Yi, and also understands what kind of man sits behind him. If he was irritated, even his master would not be able to save himself, so he remained silent. After all, this is a man who broke out of naval headquarters. Only those fools who are overpowered will provoke this man. Lord Gilder Tesoro said after seeing the wanted warrant that this man must not be provoked. Through the surveillance phone worm spread across all corners of the country, the huge screen divided into thousands of small screens clearly shows the real situation in all corners of the country. On the high platform of the monitoring room, this seat stands as the man playing on the huge screen outside, and is also the ruler of this independent kingdom Gilder Tesoro. It's just that the king is not sitting on something important, like what Bakara said, he is sitting here, watching Luo Yi and others every move through the monitor. The voices including Luo Yi echoed through Gilder Tesoro's ears through the monitor phone worm installed in Ghost Slaughter. Monkey D. Luo Yi. This bastard is so slanderous to me. Gilder Tesoro said calmly as he turned the golden ring of his fingers. It's just that the gold ring that has been transformed into a shape is not as calm as it appears on the surface. Suddenly, a faint light rose from the dark ground, and a black shadow emerged from the ground below his feet. He was wearing the same dark green suit and green tie as the guard of the Golden City. He was short in size, but his head was bigger than two ordinary people. Tanaka, is the investigation clear? Without moving his eyes, Gilder Tesoro already knew who came and asked directly. Tanaka is the guard of the world's largest entertainment city and one of the cadre members. Trusted by the Golden Emperor Gilder Tesoro. He is responsible for collecting the tribute to foreign Gilder Tesoro. With his head down, Tanaka respectfully respects Kaido. According to our latest intelligence, Luo Yi disappeared within a week after the top war. Later appeared in East Blue's Bridge Country, the main reason is that it should be Nicole Robin. After all, the woman now appears next to Luo Yi, destroying the entire Bridge Country guards and letting go of all the people of the Bridge Country. Now the world government is looking for them all over the streets. Looking at the portrait of Robin in his hand, Gilder Tesoro said with interest. The legendary son of the devil, celestial dragons paid a high price for us to provide information. It's a pity that those idiots failed even this kind of trivial matter. Now that she and Luo Yi appear together, people like celestial dragons are having a headache. Quote. Think of the news that I spent a lot of money on. As the man who killed celestial dragons and the woman that celestial dragons want to wipe out. Interesting. 2 days ago, Luo Yi and others appeared on the New World's Nand Island, and immediately boarded the luxury cruise ship La Dinand under the umbrella of the shipping king, Umit, and arrived at us. If Luo Yi were here, he would definitely be particularly surprised, because the message that Nakata said, except that he was in long, was all right. He stretched out his fingers and knocked his hands down the table and chairs rhythmically, staring at Luo Yi displayed on the huge screen. Gilder Tesoro's asked. That said, Luo Yi didn't happen to be here. Is his purpose for us? So not long before the war at the top, the chaotic time of the entire new world, what did Luo Yi mean when he came here? Quote. 0. Look for flowers. Because of the failure of Whitebeard and the deterrence of the King of the Sea, countless large and small ambitious players have emerged. It can be said that the entire new world has been chaotic during this period of time. Although the Whitebeard pirates quickly returned to their territory to fully demonstrate their strength. However, many careerists will still rush to challenge the status of the Whitebeard pirate map, including the 2-4 emperors Kaido and Big Mom, and the friction between the 3-4 emperors greatly increases the chaos of the entire new world. Even himself, In just 3 weeks, arrested more than a dozen pirate groups, put these guys to death in front of everyone, and the whole city calmed down. In such a sensitive period, Luo Yi, who was so wanted by the world government in the top war, came here, and Gilder Tesoro had to be careful, because Luo Yi was a real monster. Gilder Tesoro, who has obtained more news through the purchase of gold, knows exactly what kind of monster the man who appears in his golden city now is. Tanaka was also curious. Based on his previous information, will Luo Yi come to kill the celestial dragons on the ship this time? Although the world government ordered the celestial dragons to return to the Holy Land Mariajoy, we still have a few idiots playing here. Quote. Is it because of the pointer? Or because of those celestial dragons? After thinking about it for a while, Gilder Tesoro still had trouble thinking about the purpose of Luo Yi's arrival. Stand up with a whir, grinning at the corner of your mouth. Anyway, we have to welcome this monster, just those guys are here, and it feels like a great show is about to be staged, haha. Tanaka, isn't the heir of the devil here? Arrange it and let us see the true strength of this man wanted by the world government as celestial dragons. After all, seeing is believing. Hi, Lord Gilder Tesoro, outside the hotel. Wow, what a magnificent building. Robin looked up and exclaimed. In front of everyone, a huge building hundreds of meters high rose straight into the sky, emitting a dazzling golden light. Yes, this is the only 8-star luxury hotel in the world that Grand Tesoro is proud of. The King of Gold Hotel is made of gold. Lord Luo Yi, your room is on the top floor of this hotel. Baraka proudly introduced. However, Luo Yi is thinking about the idea of bursting the heart of the other party. How to move this hotel away? This is all made of gold. The value represented by so much gold is enough to change the whole world. Click. At this moment, a huge door open sounded, which directly interrupted Luo Yi's thinking in his mind, and everyone couldn't help but look up. I miss you so much. Monkey D. Luo Yi. The man in military uniform exuding horror stomped on the ground and rushed towards Luo Yi. Bump. The opponent's full punch was easily received by Luo Yi's left hand, who jumped up in the air. The explosive momentum between the two fists blew away the turtles behind him, and cracks appeared on the ground. Luo Yi watched calmly, opposite the hideous man. Hey. You ran out of the 6th floor, Douglas Bullet. Yi. Chapter 85. Advertise here. That man was descended from the devil just now. Douglas Bullet. Momosuke, who was holding Robin and avoiding the overturned car, looked at the man in strong military uniform with Luo Yi in front of him and said in surprise. Who is that? Robin, who was hiding in Momosuke's arms, asked curiously. Douglas Bullet, a crew member of Roger Pirates 27 years ago, was made the heir of the devil, and his strength is quite terrifying. Bump. A huge storm emerged from Luo Yi and Bullet's pair of fists, blowing towards the people nearby. Momosuke watched Luo Yi repel Bullet and said. After the pirate king Roger was executed in East Blue 24 years ago, Bullet started walking violently at sea. He turned the sea upside down. Bump. Luo Yi and Bullet collided again, and the two men's armed fists swiftly attacked each other. 23 years ago, Marine 140 launched a buster call on him alone. At that time, Marine's top combat power was deployed. Finally, 13-year-old Luo Yi defeated him alone and imprisoned him in Impel down. Is it an heir of the devil? It's really an exact adjective. After listening to Momosuke's explanation, Robin looked at the brawny blonde in military uniform who was fighting Luo Yi. His red skin and terrifying aura were like evil spirits in hell. Boom. Luo Yi and Bullet fisted each other and retreated, but Luo Yi twisted his body forcibly in the air while retreating, and swept towards Bullet with a whip leg. Bullet was kicked into the hotel behind him by Luo Yi's sudden blow. How much Bailey is going to lose this time? Bakara watched Bullet rush into the destroyed Golden Hotel. The outer golden building had been destroyed, and a big head appeared beside him. Bakara, retreat first. This level of battle is not something we can participate in, and we can't even bear the aftermath. Okay. After hearing Tanaka's words, Bakara nodded and ran out quickly with his legs in high heels. Boom. Bullet rushed out of the smoke, a purple horror aura appeared on his body, and his giant white gloved hand grabbed Luo Yi. Are you Ghost? Luo Yi easily caught Bullet's attack with his right hand, and said as he watched the increased strength of the opponent and the strange aura on his body. You are much better than before, Bullet. I have never stopped exercising myself in the past 20 years in prison, but you. You won't be imprisoned for 20 years, only your body will grow. Bullet's right fist confronted Luo Yi. Both fists were bounced away by powerful force. Bullet slammed Luo Yi's body with his left hand, which was much longer than Luo Yi. Bump. Huge power passed through Luo Yi's body and shattered the ground behind Luo Yi. Bullet looked at Luo Yi, who was hit by him, felt the hard touch from his fist, and smiled at the corner of Bullet's mouth. It has to be like this, otherwise it would be boring. Poof. Bullet, who was talking loudly, was hit by Luo Yi. Luo Yi patted his suit. Although the upper part of his abdomen was not injured because of the armed color, the upper part of the suit was dirty. Bullet, you soiled my clothes. Luo Yi's eyes turned red, and conquerors slowly wrapped around his armed fists. Ha ha, come on. Seeing the appearance of Luo Yi's conquerors, Bullet also wrapped conquerors around his fist. Not only that, Bullet also covered his entire body with armed colors. The two stepped on the ground, and the ground broke instantly. Black and red lightning appeared under the collision of the two. Bullet waved his fists vigorously, and Luo Yi kicked Bullet flying by the way after relaxing under the crotch. Bullet flew in the air, and Luo Yi, who was teleported behind him, slammed his fist into the ground. Boom! Bullet hit the ground and produced a huge amount of smoke. Luo Yi turned his body in the air, stepped his feet on the air forcefully, and then rushed into the smoke. Bump! Bump! A loud noise appeared in the smoke, and black and red lightning burst out in the smoke, flickering in the smoke. Well, Momosuke and Robin, who watched the game from a distance, felt the collision of Conqueror's Haki of the two people. After Luo Yi and Bullet first collided, Robin was stunned by Conqueror's Haki accompanied by the aftermath. Cut. This little girl is really troublesome. Momosuke hugged Robin in his arms and ran back, and then exposed Robin to the collision of the two Conqueror's Haki, and might be shocked into a fool. Ah, the strongest punch. Kill the empty. Bump. The huge impact dissipated the spreading smoke, and the ground shattered. Bullet's huge fists and Luo Yi's right fist slammed together. Between the two fists were filled with black and red lightning. 0. Ah. Feeling that his fists were being suppressed, and the feet inserted into the ground were slowly backing up, Bullet shouted to provide this power to his fists. Hey, you have become a lot stronger. Bullet. Luo Yi withdrew his right hand in an instant while speaking. Bullet's body, which had been pushing forward, fell towards Luo Yi before he could react. Luo Yi raised his right leg and kicked Bullet's chin in an instant, kicking Bullet again. Go out. When Luo Yi took off Bullet, his right hand grabbed Bullet's right foot and instantly smashed Bullet's huge body to the ground. Boom. When Bullet was smashed into the store and wanted to grab the ground and stand up to resist, Luo Yi was thrown to the other side of the ground area again, and Bullet hit a huge pit on the ground. When Bullet hit the ground this time, his hands touched the gold on the ground. After the gold touched Bullet's hands, a purple light covered the gold and quickly merged into Bullet's hands. Okay. Noting that Bullet started to use the fruit ability, Luo Yi released the hand holding Bullet's right leg, and Bullet was flung out in an instant. Ah, go to hell. The right hand of the Bullet in the air after being attached to the gold became bigger and huge, and the giant golden fist attached with the armed color smashed towards Luo Yi. Slash wave. The black and red slash instantly smashed the golden giant fist that had attacked, and the slash still flew towards the 5.7 Bullet. Bullet watched the flying slash, and slammed it with his right hand. Bump. The collision between the slash and the fist successfully offset the slash. Bullet was also brought to the ground by the force of the slash, and slammed into it fiercely. What? After being smashed into the ground, Bullet stood up instantly, only to feel a black shadow flying by him. Standing behind Bullet, Luo Yi gently put the magic knife Thousand Blades into the scabbard. Have you heard the sound of the wind blowing? Quote. A huge wound appeared instantly. Bullet's body was covered with arms, and blood was flying in the air. Ha ha ha, it's not over yet. Touching the wound on his chest, a grinning smile appeared on Bullet's face, and a huge ghost aura violently emerged from Bullet's body. Chapter 86. Advertise here. Well, the speed is much faster. Luo Yi sideways his head to avoid Bullet with a quick punch, and turned to look at Bullet, who had thrown away his jacket. The cut he had just cut on his body was clamped with powerful muscles. The blood does not flow out of the wound, the blue veins on the crimson skin are exposed, and the black armament haki on the body slowly merges with the ghost gas that erupts on the body, slowly spreading all over the body. Hehe, it looks like it will be interesting next. Luo Yi put the magic knife in the scabbard shinbin on his waist again, and looked at the Bullet, which was already covered with purple and blue armed colors, and made a boxing posture. Devil form. Bump. Bump. The purple-blue Bullet smashed the ground and rushed towards Luo Yi. His fist drove a violent air current and smashed towards Luo Yi. Two strong loud noises sounded in the air. The first loud noise was the sound produced by Luo Yi blocking Bullet's fist, and the two people's powerful force broke through the air. The second loud noise was the sound produced by Bullet's fist breaking through the air. A lot better than before, but not enough. Luo Yi's right leg quickly kicked towards Bullet's left leg. The quick kick made Bullet instantly lose his balance. Bullet twisted his body in the direction of falling to the ground. 09, and his waist brought his whole body strength to Luo Yi. Luo Yi raised his right arm and twisted his waist slightly. An elbow hit Bullet's right fist, and his left hand gathered strength. Boom. The dilapidated ground shattered again, and the explosion produced a huge amount of smoke. Two figures flew out of the smoke. After rotating a few times in the air, Bullet smashed into the ground fiercely. Luo Yi stopped his retreating figure with a few taps of his feet on the ground. Looking at Bullet, who was slowly standing up, several fist marks appeared on the opponent's body again. Bullet, who was injured again, did not flinch. Looking at Luo Yi on the opposite side, he didn't know why there was a feeling of facing Roger at the beginning. The feeling of being strong and unable to beat fills Bullet's mind. What a joke. How could you be stronger than Roger? I want to surpass Roger. How could I lose to you here? Hearing the words yelled by Bullet, Luo Yi smiled sarcastically. Roger is dead. How do you surpass him? Shut up. Bullet rushed up again, and the two armed fists attacked each other for the pick and roll. However, Luo Yi can make up a few laps against Bullet's body every time when Bullet closes his fist. The aftermath of the two people's fight shattered the surrounding environment, and the glass of nearby buildings was destroyed by the aftermath of the two people's fight. Unexpectedly, even the Douglas bullet can't even work with fists. Both of them have been imprisoned for 20 years, but according to my information, Monkey D. Luo Yi should have fallen asleep in the past 20 years. I didn't expect it to be so terrible. Quote. It looks like you should be able to help me accomplish what I have always wanted to do. Monkey D. Luo Yi. In the surveillance room, Gilder Tesoro looked at the two fighting men, squinting his eyes slightly and turning the ring on his finger. The huge scar on the five-pointed star behind him was in the shape of a dragon's hoof. Tanaka, what's the matter, Master Tesoro? Is that pointer on Bullet now? Hi. Just before Luo Yi appeared, it was handed over to Bullet. Yes. Gilder Tesoro showed a thoughtful expression and then watched the battle between the two. Ah. Fist break. Luo Yi turned his head slightly to avoid the fist that Bullet hit his head, full of Conqueror's hockey. Slightly lowered, he hit Bullet's unsuspecting body with a heavy punch and directly knocked it into the air. Boom. Bullet once again smashed into the opposite building, and Bullet slowly put his hands on the ground in the smoke. Okay. Luo Yi noticed that the bullet in the smoke did not rush out quickly, but when he hit inside without any movement, the corners of his mouth slightly lifted, waiting for the next action of Bullet. A large amount of purple-black energy flow suddenly gushed out of the smoke, quickly covering the surrounding buildings, and the broken glass and rubble in the building began to slowly flow in with the current. The surrounding metal and inorganic substances are attracted by the trend and enter the trend. Luo Yi watched all this happen with his hands clasped in fists, without any intention to stop Bullet. Ah. Bad. If these two guys fight with all their strength, my boat won't be able to hold them. After Gilder Tesoro in the monitoring room noticed something happened with the Bullet ability here, he started to stand up and quickly ran to the outside. Coax. Hee. This looks interesting. Luo Yi looked at the huge robot that appeared in front of him. The rubble that had just been destroyed has completely disappeared. To be precise, it turned into a component of the huge robot in front of him. Die to me, Monkey D. Luo Yi. Medium-sized bullet. Inside the bullet's body is wrapped with purple dynamic energy. The huge robot is exactly bullet's use of its own fruit to absorb nearby inorganic substances and fuse it into a medium-sized bullet shape. Armament hockey wrapped around the robot's right hand, and the huge right fist hit the ground where Luo Yi was. Let me see how strong your fruit ability can be. Luo Yi's right hand flickered 140 Conqueror's lightning entangled emission hockey and struck the giant fist that fell. Boom. A huge power shock burst out. The great strength of the two made the entire hull of the Grand Tesoro tilt to the left. Ah. Happened. Why did the Grand Tesoro be like this? Isn't that? It will be fine if you encounter any wind and waves. Why is it tilted so badly this time? After the Grand Tesoro tilted, many rich people on the Grand Tesoro fell to the ground, shouting loudly to know what happened. Luo Yi. Is the battle already so fierce? Momosuke, who just found a safe place to put Robin down, felt the hull tilt to the left, and quickly held Robin, seeing and hearing the scene of Luo Yi fighting Bullet. It seems that something terrible happened on the ship. A middle-aged blind man wearing purple clothes with an X-shaped scar on his forehead sat in his place and slowly said that the huge tilt did not affect him at all. Damn it, are these two monsters going to destroy my ship? Gilder Tesoro, who hurried to stop Luo Yi from fighting with Bullet, was suddenly tilted to the wall, and the two who thought of the fight couldn't help but curse. Chapter 87. Advertise here. Hey. Luo Yi punched the giant fist from the Bullet medium bullet form. Suddenly the medium bullet form received a strong force and couldn't help staggering back 2 steps, his huge body stomping on the ground. Superior. It's troublesome. If this ship is gone, where can I go to have fun? Luo Yi noticed that the hull began to lean to the left sharply, and concentrated all his energy to jump onto the bullet. A foot full of red umbrella and lightning stomped heavily on the bullet. The huge power was transmitted to the bullet through the medium bullet. On the Grand Tesoro at the foot, the hull that originally leaned to the left was brought back directly by Luo Yi. When the hull was restored, it hit the sea and set off a huge wave. The rich people who had just stood in the entertainment city were thrown to the right again with the force of the right. Ah, what is going on? A rich Mediterranean man just got up and fell to the ground again, he could only shout angrily. Ah, be careful, Lao Zi Wat Saint. A man wearing a bubble helmet and a spacesuit was held by the bodyguards beside him, so that he would not be overwhelmed by strength. What did you send? Is someone going to attack me? This ship dares to treat me like this. Contact me Marine. Let them send Admiral over. I want to destroy this ship. Quote. Celestial Dragons Lao Ziwat yelled to the bodyguard who was supporting him. Is this the Celestial Dragons protected by the world government? The blind middle-aged man with purple hair listened to the voice in his ear and said slowly. Huh, is there such a strong man on this ship? I'm a little excited. A man in a black and white leather jacket stood motionless inside the casino, and the tilt of the hull had no effect on him. Damn it. When the hull tilted to the right, Gilder Tesoro, who was moving fast in the hotel with gold, felt for the first time that he had built the hotel too big. If it wasn't for the hotel, could he still not be able to keep up? Tanaka, are they there yet? Master Tesoro, they are already waiting for you at the door. Okay, outside the hotel. Ah, die to me. Bullet's medium bullet that just ate Luo Yi's kick, the body on the left is already broken, the medium bullet inside his body roared angrily, swinging his right fist and attacking Luo Yi in the air. Chaotic Jin 2. What? Feeling that his body, space, and time seemed to be derailed instantly, Bullet could only exclaim that he could not move. Slash wave. The black and red slash flew out of Luo Yi's magic knife thousand blades, and slashed towards the right hand held by the Bullet medium bullet. The slash easily swept across, and the right hand of the medium bullet was also cut off. Damn it. Please come to the medium bullet of Luan Jin Tuo. Under the operation of Bullet, his whole body was covered with armament hockey, and his huge body slammed into Luo Yi. The huge foot of the medium bullet was on the ground, leaving huge footprints on the ground. What? Luo Yi retracted the knife into its sheath, made a comfortable posture, and slowly exhaled white air from his mouth. Be smashed into meatloaf by me. The medium bullet jumped directly, and the huge body full of armed colors quickly smashed from the air towards Luo Yi's position, just after the huge body was only a few meters away from Luo Yi. Dimensional cut. In an instant, a semicircle with a radius of tens of meters was formed with Luo Yi as the center. Numerous transparent sword marks cut through the space and existed in the semicircle. The world on this side was divided into countless parts. Hey, wait. Luo Yi retracted the knife into its sheath. Jung. The sword energy staying in the space squirmed frantically, cutting all the objects in the air into the air, except Luo Yi accidentally. After 1 second, the medium bullet in the air directly turned into a small piece of armor and fell off. Bump. Bullet, who was covered in bone scars all over his body, fell off. The crimson skin was rendered even more terrifying with blood. Bullet struggled to support the ground with his hands, trying to get his body to stand up. I haven't lost yet. Ha. Bullet's trembling voice came from his constantly trembling body. Even if the blood was bleeding out of his body, he still struggled to stand up. Oh, then. Just after Luo Yi planned to kill him with a knife, click. At this moment, a huge door opening sounded, which directly interrupted Luo Yi's movement. I saw that at a height of 50 meters in the hotel, which was made of gold, a door opened without warning. The huge golden gate was several meters high, and then a golden staircase, also made of gold, protruded from the door. As the stairs slowly descended, a beautiful girl in blue feather costume stepped on lightly stepped steps, raised a beautiful dance, and fell down the stairs step by step. Immediately following the appearance of many beautiful girls, a golden pink rain fell from the calm sky, beams of huge bright light shone on Luo Yi and Bullet, who was still lying on the ground, cheering music sounded. What does this guy want to do? Luo Yi's experience clearly perceives the aura behind the door, which is the strongest aura around here except Luo Yi and Bullet. With countless exclamations from the surrounding crowd, the Golden Emperor Gilder Tesoro, who was preparing for all this, finally stepped out of the stairs and walked along the golden stairs all the way to Luo Yi. Gilder Tesoro raised his hands to welcome. Former Marine Vice Admiral Yi Xiao, Monkey D. Luo Yi, I didn't expect you to come to me, how about it? Are you satisfied with my grand welcome ceremony? Under the gaze of so many girls, Luo Yi looked at Momosugi and Robin who were flying from a distance, turned his head and glanced at Gilder Tesoro, and slowly put the magic knife thousand blades into the scabbard. Of course, Gilder Tesoro, you really surprised me a lot. If you dare to come out and meet me now, it means that you have thought about how to deal with my warehouse. Although there was a smile on his face, Luo Yi's mouth curled up inadvertently and a flash of disdain flashed through him, thinking about calculating himself as soon as he met. This really makes Zixia panic. Zixia has just finished cooperating with others, and I feel this way non-stop. After all, His Excellency Luo Yi's strength can easily dismantle my ship. How dare you do something like that underneath? His Excellency Luo Yi, please come to the hotel to speak. With that said, Gilder Tesoro took a step back and raised his hands with a smile on his face and made an extremely gentleman's request. Luo Yi, what's the matter? Momosugi rushed to Luo Yi and asked Luo Yi, still holding Robin who was dizzy. It's okay. This Gilder Tesoro wants to invite us to talk. Let's go in together. Hi, please come together. Momosugi Vice Admiral. Gilder Tesoro took a step back again, still smiling, raising his hands and making an extremely gentleman's request again. Chapter 88. Advertise here. Luo Yi, I always feel that this guy seems to have bad intentions. Momosugi, who was holding Robin in his arms, said to Luo Yi next to him. Nothing, even if he wants to do something, then he must have the strength to threaten me. Luo Yi glanced at Tesoro who was looking at them, a trace of contempt in his eyes. Then the two led the waiter in front of Robin's follower into the golden building. Well, as for your distinguished guest. Gilder Zolo, who watched Luo Yi and Momosugi enter the hotel stairs, looked at Bullet, who was still struggling to get up, with a strange smile on his face. What do you want to do? Seeing and perceiving danger, Bullet raised his head to look at Gilder Tesoro, who was smiling. He saw Gilder Tesoro shook his head, quickly touched the ground with his right foot, and snapped his left finger. A lot of gold liquid poured out from the building and added to the broken potholes in the storefront, repairing the potholes intact as new, and the gold merged with the ordinary ground. Well, it's like a work of art. You think so, heir of the devil, Mr. Douglas Bullet. Damn it. Seeing Tesolo's 140 smile, Bullet rushed up quickly, hitting Tesolo's face with his right fist. When he was about to hit Tesolo's face, Bullet was trapped by a rope made of gold. Stop. The fist wind moved a strand of hair in front of Tesolo's forehead. It's so dangerous, Mr. Bullet, but please be quiet. After all, you can't even beat me in your current state. I can only trade the pointers on you to others. You bastard. Don't think so. Seeing Bullet's angry expression, Tesolo smiled and paid a gentleman's gift, and then walked into the building with Bullet trapped. What am I kidding? Accompanied by the roar of Bullet. Bump. The gate of gold closed tightly. Huh. The two powerful breaths are gone. Is the battle over? Damn it. Didn't catch up. The man in the black and white leather jacket stepped on the ground angrily. Fortunately, the blind man in Z touched his sword. The King of Gold Hotel, this whole body is made of gold, and is the only hotel in the world known as an 8-star hotel. At this moment, on the highest floor of the Golden King Hotel, in a huge hall covering an area of thousands of square meters, the huge space is paved with diamonds that are almost connected to the city. The ground alone is full of luxury and extravagance. The surrounding walls are all made of SLR glass thick enough to resist shells, and the entire Grand Tesoro can be seen here. Even if it is stronger than Luo Yi, Momisagi, etc., at the moment of entry, they were surprised by this extravagant scene. This room alone is worth tens of billions. What is the concept of tens of billions of Baileys is enough to expand the entire Marine Army? More than 50%. On the gold-cast walls, there are paintings of invaluable masters hung, all of which are world-famous, many of which are rumored to be damaged. As soon as he entered this room, Robin, who had just awakened, focused all his eyes on the many beautiful paintings and calligraphy around him, his bright and big eyes shining brightly. As a historian, there is nothing more attractive than seeing so many extinct works. Had it not been for the great care of Luo Yi's face, Robin would have already taken a step towards painting and calligraphy. Tesolo's voice suddenly sounded. I heard that Miss Robin is a historian from a famous archaeological sacred site that has been destroyed. Robin raised his head and looked at Tesolo questioningly. It was not surprising that Robin knew his life experience. But why you want to mention this now, and seeing this man's first reason, gives Robin a very bad feeling. Seeing Tesolo smiled slightly. These pictures are funds used by some people as collateral, and the result is a lot of loss in the casino. So these pictures are left, but unfortunately I am just a layman who likes gold, and I am not interested in these things. It can only be put here as a decoration. Today I finally met a person who knows the goods, then I will let these pictures give to Miss Robin. What? Hearing this, even Robin, who had always been calm, couldn't help but exclaim. This gift is too expensive. These dozens of paintings and calligraphy are all rumored to be extinct works in the world. But now the other party just gave hundreds of billions of Baileys to himself. Even if he had money, he couldn't be so generous. How could Robin believe it? At the same time, there was a vigilance in my heart. No matter how hard it would be a crime to steal. Momisagi looked at Tesolo's eyes full of questions. Accept it, Robin. Luo Yi, who has been looking at the tied-up Bullet since sitting in the room, said suddenly. Huh, well, thank you Mr. Tesolo, then. When Robin heard Luo Yi's words, he nodded and replied. In the huge conference hall, there are only 2 white sofas placed near the edge of the glass. Luo Yi and Tesolo are sitting opposite each other. Next to Luo Yi is the beautiful and charming Momisagi, and next to Tesolo is the trapped Bullet. Come on, why are you inviting me over? Luo Yi put his hands on the sofa and looked plainly at Tesolo, who was called the Golden Emperor. Excuse me, Lord Luo Yi, I just delayed something and didn't receive it personally. I'll find myself a glass first, saying that Tesolo picked up the glass in front of him and drank it in one gulp. Upon seeing this, Luo Yi also bent over and picked up the wine glass in his hand, looked at Tesolo, and smiled meaningfully. How come, your welcome ceremony just now was exceptionally grand. There was something in Luo Yi's words, and Tesolo heard it right away, and the two of them smiled slightly like this. No one said it, and everyone understood it in their hearts. At this time, Bullet beside him also realized that he was being used as a gun, but he had lost too much blood and was seriously injured. He couldn't break away from Tesolo's bondage, so he could only look at Tezo beside him angrily. Luo. After the war at the top, you, wanted by the world government, appeared in the world for the first time, and you actually came to me. What do you do, Lord Luo Yi? Tesolo asked. What am I doing here? Don't you know? Your intelligence is so powerful. Luo Yi took a sip of wine. Ha ha ha, as expected to be Lord Luo Yi, who can be wanted by the world government as celestial dragons. Tesolo looked at Luo Yi as if he couldn't hide from you. Why do you want to be celestial dragons too? Luo Yi looked at Tesolo while holding the wine glass, but his heart was blurred. Am I just here to play? Can't hide anything from me. Ha ha ha. How could it be possible that I wouldn't provoke someone like you for a mere 6 billion Baileys, and the identity of celestial dragons? I also don't look up to it, it's not as comfortable as I am now. As for what you want. Tesolo took out a small object from Kabuto, Bullet's pants beside him. Oh, this is. Luo Yi pretended to say deeply. Hi, this is the eternal pointer to the final island. Tesolo unfolded his hands and showed the eternal pointer in front of Luo Yi's 3 people. Chapter 89. Advertise here. The ultimate island. Raftel's ultimate pointer. Momosagi's beautiful eyes opened wide, covering her mouth in surprise and looking at the eternal pointer in Tesolo's hand. This is how you can become the One Piece. Robin also looked at in surprise. Asshole. The bound bullet could only attack Tesolo with words. Tesolo heard Bullet's scolding and did not react. It was just that the gold that bound Bullet was tighter. Did he come here after knowing the news, not for the so-called fun in his mouth? No loss is the man who was so wanted by the world government. Robin secretly glanced at Luo Yi, who was still sitting. Even if Tesolo took out the eternal pointer, Luo Yi's expression remained unchanged. Tesolo saw that Luo Yi didn't make any statement, and there was some tremor in his heart. He slowly placed the eternal pointer on the table in front of Luo Yi, clenched his fists on his knees and looked at Luo Yi in front of him. And Luo Yi himself was still sitting there calmly, slowly shaking the wine glass in his hand, looking at Tesolo in front of him, his eyes only swept over the eternal pointer once. Ah, it turned out to be a gadget. How do I remember that it should appear at the Pirate Carnival with Bullet 2 years later? But looking at this situation, it turns out that it was Tesolo who held it from the beginning, and he got Bullet from him. Luo Yi thought in his heart that he himself has no interest in the ultimate island, and One Piece has no interest in anything. He is only interested in the few people hiding in Mariajoy in this world. But now if he goes directly to Mariajoy to do things, those people will definitely hide, and go for nothing. Luo Yi himself doesn't like thankless things. However, if you make good use of this thing, you should be able to use it as a good bait to catch the big fish that are hiding from me. Wait a minute, Tesolo can also use it. After all, he is so rich. A series of thoughts flashed quickly in his mind like lightning and flint. Master Tesolo. At this moment, Bakara stepped on high heels and walked over from the door behind everyone, and he said something in Tesolo's ear. Luo Yi is not interested in listening to other people's whispers. After all, if the other party dared to turn his face, he would just drew the knife and hack the other side to death. At that time, this ship will belong to Luo Yi. What? How could that idiot? When Tesolo just wanted to say something after hearing Bakara's words. At this moment, there was a loud noise outside the gate of gold casting inlaid with countless gems. Excuse me, Lord Lousy Watt, Lord Tesolo is discussing confidential events with your distinguished guests inside. You can't go in. Bubu. Trash, a trash race with lowly blood, dare to stop me, don't I know someone is talking with Tesolo? Hearing gunshots and verbal abuse, and seeing Luo Yi's joking eyes, Tesolo's face changed as the well-deserved ruler here. The back is also like Bakara, full of irritation. Someone shot the killer himself outside the door. Isn't this slapping him in the face? Hearing the faint shouts and rampant words from outside, Luo Yi knew in his heart who had arrived. After knowing their identity, what should Tesolo do with him? Luo Yi looked forward to it. With Momoshiki in his arms, Luo Yi leaned on the soft sofa behind him, knocking on Erlang's legs. His face was playful, just barely writing the word, watching, on his face. Click. The huge golden gate was pushed a little bit by outside, and 2 guards wearing exquisite armor came into view first. Then there appeared 3 celestial dragons wearing white gorgeous costumes and strange bubble hoods, followed by the group guards behind them. At the foot of the leader celestial dragons, one of the 2 men who guarded Tesolo on both sides of the gate when Luo Yi and others entered before, but now it has become a corpse. Leading celestial dragons stepped forward, a group of people filed in, and the guards behind them quickly surrounded Luo Yi and others in an orderly manner. Bullet beside him looked at the angry Tesolo with a sneer smile. Surrounded by others in his own territory, Tesolo, who was already angry, finally couldn't restrain the eruption, and slapped the man with his right hand on the sofa. Stand up and yell at celestial dragons to come in unceremoniously. La Ziwat, what are you doing? You actually killed my men in my place, and you broke into my meeting room and surrounded me. You must know that this is in my territory, the Grand Tesoro, but not in your holy place, Mariajoy. Quote. The reason why celestial dragons have such great power is that world government and marine admirals stand behind them. That's why people are feared, but for the real strong, they don't even give face to the world government, let alone the fake celestial dragons. Although Tesolo may not be very powerful, the transaction between what it represents behind and celestial dragons is enough to make him not afraid of celestial dragons. As celestial dragons, when did Lousy Watt be called upon by someone? He glanced at the people in the room. Especially after seeing Luo Yi, the corners of his eyes trembled, but he threatened with a stronger tone of Chao Tesolo. Tesolo, don't think that you pay tribute to the heavenly gold every year, so you dare to scold me. Believe it or not, I asked Naval Headquarters to send Admiral to destroy it all. With a disdainful smile on Tesolo's face, he sat down and said with his hands in disapproval. Really? Then you go call it, and send Naval Headquarters to Admiral to destroy me. I just don't know if the series of chain reactions that follow will be brought about, whether you celestial dragons and the world government can bear it. Hearing this, the words of Saint Lao Ziwat came to an abrupt end, indeed. If the rule of Tesolo is really destroyed, it would be a matter of killing 1,000 enemies and harming one's own 800. No one would do such a thing as a last resort. Although celestial dragons are all rubbish, they are not all. It's a fool. 0. Look for flowers. I don't know what to say for a while, but I can't lose face in a lowly race as a noble celestial dragons. When he waved his hand, Lousy Watt snorted coldly, turned his head to look at Luo Yi and said, Tesoro, today I am looking for Luo Yi, a sinner, not here to reason about these things with you. Seeing Lousy Watson withdrew, Tesoro felt even more disdainful, but didn't say much. Now that the war has burned to Luo Yi, you might as well watch a good show for yourself. Luo Yi, I didn't expect you, a sinner, to appear here. Sage Laoziwat turned his gaze to Lin Tian, uttering Celestial Dragon's arrogance, but the hand behind him frantically made a retreat gesture to the guards. Shaking the wine glass in his hand, Luo Yi didn't even look at him. Drinking the glass of fine wine, he was already in a more arrogant attitude than Laoziwat. Word what? His own noble blood was abused by a low-level blood race, and a young Celestial Dragons behind him couldn't help it. Dare to insult us noble creators, he stood up, waved his hand, and directly ordered, go on, tear this garbage race to pieces for me. Lousy Watt's face suddenly changed, and he reached out to stop him, but the most loyal guards of Celestial Dragons on the side had already taken action. Kill. Amid the shouts and footsteps, dozens of Celestial Dragons guards immediately rushed up with their spears. Bump. The heads of the Celestial Dragons guards who rushed up in an instant burst like a broken watermelon, and blood rained down in this room. On Momosuke and Robin's side, Luo Yi easily blocked the falling rain with the external armed color. Tesoro controlled the gold to make an umbrella to help him cover it. What? This. The two young Celestial Dragons and Lao Ziwat, who had lost the protection of their guards, were dyed red in their white costumes, and they slumped on the ground in fright. As Celestial Dragons, how dare you show up in front of me and threaten me? Are you so brave? Luo Yi stood up, walked in front of Lao Ziwa, lowered her head and asked Lao Ziwa, whose legs were trembling constantly. I do not. Ha ha ha, you dare not kill me. I am God. When Lao Ziwa was about to say something, the young Tianlong behind him suddenly yelled at Luo Yi. He was kicked to pieces by Luo Yi in an instant. Luo Yi rubbed the blood on the shoes to Lao Ziwa. Body. Luo Yi looked at the more terrifying and trembling Lao Ziwat in front of him, remembering the eternal pointer behind him, and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. After seeing you, I have a good idea. Yi. Chapter 90. Luo Yi's right hand slightly opened and closed, and the eternal pointer still on the desktop flew directly into the air and flew directly into Luo Yi's hand. Luo Yi played with the eternal pointer in his hand, looking at the word Wat who collapsed in front of him. A crazy idea began to ferment in his mind. The corners of Luo Yi's mouth rose wildly. Snapped. Luo Yi covered his face with his left hand, hiding his already sick smile. A few seconds later, when his expression returned to normal, Luo Yi put his hand down. Lao Ziwat looked at Luo Yi with a pale face. He knew that the person in front of him really didn't care about his identity. After all, he killed Mariajoy alone, and slaughtered a lot of Celestial Dragons. The crazy smile that Luo Yi swept away just now, he saw it, he would not think that the other party would let him hit the gun. After all, he just got his own. The nephew has now become a beach of 4 and 1. Hey, Mr. Brain Bada, look at this, do you know? When Lao Ziwat was thinking about it, Luo Yi put the eternal pointer in his hand in front of his eyes for him to look at. Well, what? This is. Lao Ziwat swallowed, glanced at Luo Yi flusteredly, and then placed his gaze on the eternal pointer in Luo Yi's hand. He was thinking of a pointer originally, but when he saw the name marked on it, the trembling body stopped trembling. Raftel, the ultimate island, an eternal pointer. Ah, Luo Yi smiled satisfied after noticing the other party's surprised reaction. It looks like you are not just a trash for eating, drinking, and having fun, Brain Wada. Why do you have this thing? Damn it, snapped. Luo Yi slapped him away, who wanted to crush the eternal pointer. Unexpected reaction, Brain Watts, trash like you has the courage to do this kind of thing in front of me. It seems that there are things on that island that your Celestial Dragons are afraid of. Quote. Luo Yi looked at the lousy Wat who was slapped by him. The other party's performance had just exceeded Luo Yi's expectations. After all, when Luo Yi was still Marine 20 years ago, he met this rubbish Celestial Dragons in the holy place Mariajoy. Luo Yi knows exactly what kind of person Luo Ziwat is. But even so greedy for life and fear of death, Lao Ziwat even wanted to destroy the eternal pointer regardless of his own life. This action made Luo Yi even more eager to implement his plan. Now, Tesoro, I have a suggestion, would you like to listen? Luo Yi's sudden question made Tesoro who was watching the show stunned. When he just wanted to say something, Tesoro noticed Luo Yi looking back at him. Suddenly, Luo Yi in Tesoro's eyes lost his handsome appearance, like a black monster with red glowing eyes watching him. The huge pressure became visible to the naked eye and turned into a black tide rushing towards him. To die. I don't know why Tesoro can only repeat these two words in his mind. With a glare of eyes, Momosuke and Robin on the opposite side were still looking at Luo Yi like normal people. Tesoro also knew that Luo Yi alone released his murderous intent. Hi, of course I will support your Lord Luo Yi's proposal. Tesoro quickly nodded to Luo Yi in agreement, for fear that it would be slow. Luo Yi rushed over and killed him. Ah, that's good. Facing Lousy Wat and the former daughter Celestial Dragons at his feet, after releasing Conqueror's Haki, Luo Yi stunned them. Luo Yi walked back to the sofa and sat down. Luo said, I like your present very much, thank you very much. After hearing Luo Yi's words, Tesoro also twitched the corners of his mouth a few times. Didn't he do business with you? How could it be a gift for you? Stop talking about this, I don't know what Luo Yi's proposal is. Tesoro quickly skipped the heartbreaking news. Don't you see that I have this eternal pointer in my hand? If the existence of this thing is announced to the world, what do you think will happen? Luo Yi asked Tesoro while holding the eternal pointer. Luo Yi, Momosuke beside him turned pale with fright at what Luo Yi said. The world is about to be messed up again. Let alone the little pirates, even the 4 emperors won't let this news go, so is Marine. Tesoro thought about what this pointer had been known to the whole world, and the place where the pointer was located might not be destroyed soon. After he had just obtained the pointer, he hid the thing in consideration of the consequences. Bullet's deal was taken out. But Luo Yi now proposes to let the world know the existence of this pointer. Is he crazy? While Tesoro was thinking about the consequences in horror, 0. So I need your help, Golden Emperor, after all, you are the richest person in the world. As long as you spend money to announce the news, the whole world will know soon. Quote. However, it won't be so easy to succeed. Tesoro knew that he had been targeted by Luo Yi, and if he refused, it might have the same consequences as the celestial dragons just now. But he didn't want to. He was the richest person in the world. He didn't want to end like this, so he could only follow Luo Yi's words. Your Excellency Luo Yi, there may be many little pirates who will come to try their luck. Marine and world government will probably only line up a small number of people. 4 emperors generally don't believe it. Tesoro said to Luo Yi bitterly, although he didn't fully guess what Luo Yi wanted to do. But it is almost certain that Luo Yi wants to plan a war that is more terrifying than the war on the top. Isn't this a crew member with the former One Piece? Luo Yi pointed to Bullet, which was still tied up with gold. Let him hold this pointer, isn't the credibility very high? Both the 4 emperors and Marine will be attracted. Tesoro glanced at Bullet, thought for a while and nodded. More than that, the 2 garbage over there can be used as bait to lure the world government over. Luo Yi raised his finger to the 2 celestial dragons who had fainted. Then you guys think of a way to have some party. It's best to attract all the small pirates in the New World 5.7. Then, haha, the best war in the world can begin. Luo Yi glanced at Tesoro and said with both hands raised. Robin and Momosuke were both frightened by Luo Yi's crazy thoughts and swallowed. Tesoro now regretted why he had to deal with this guy at the time, but now he is on the thief ship and can't run away. After all, the monk could not run to the temple. The boat of his own size is here. Oh, will Bullet agree? Tesoro asked curiously, and everyone turned their heads to look at Bullet, which was still bound. Luo Yi looked at the clock on the wall and slowly moved towards 12 o'clock. Ding. Sign in today, super psychological hint. Hearing the report from the system, Luo Yi's mouth rose frantically, and he looked at the grim-faced Bullet. His thoughts are no longer important. Chapter 91. Humph. Looking at Luo Yi lying on the sofa in the sweet humming, Momosuke also felt a headache while holding his head. After all, she had just seen the plan that Luo Yi and Tesoro had just planned. Luo Yi, don't you worry so much, for Gilder Tesoro. Momosuke sat opposite Luo Yi, picked up a bottle of red wine and slowly poured it into the glass. It's nothing. Although he has mastered 20% of Pele in the world, it is only for the world government and those who have sights to take him seriously. I don't care that much. I cut him off and replaced him with another one. People, this is all in my hands anyway. Luo Yi raised the eternal pointer in his hand and said. Am I the one you care about? Momosuke focuses on other things. You are my weakness, so protect yourself, Gion. Looking at Luo Yi's serious eyes, Momosuke nodded happily. Okay. As for Robin, he took the gift from Tesoro and started to study ancient culture in the room. As for Luo Yi's plan anyway, it will not affect the Straw Hat Pirates. Robin feels that Luffy will definitely not use this kind of pointer to reach the final island to become the One Piece. So she simply minimized her presence and didn't disturb Luo Yi and Momosuke. Luo Yi lay happily and relaxedly in the luxury hotel. 09 and Tesoro gathered his subordinates to discuss. Damn it, is this guy my nemesis? Tesoro said, covering his head. Master Tesoro, this plan is too dangerous. If the world government and Marine know about it, will our side be? Bakara said to Tesoro while biting his nails. How about we directly report Luo Yi to the world government? Tanaka suddenly raised his hand and said. Tesoro thought of Luo Yi's power just now, and he shuddered and said, no, it's not safe. The world government can't confirm Luo Yi's killing, otherwise he won't be rewarded like that. In case that guy reacts, we'll be dead. Let's follow his plan first. Bakara, how about Bullet? Quote. After hearing Tesoro's question, Bakara thought about Bullet, who was actively treating the wound in the infirmary with the medical staff, and nodded. We are actively cooperating with treatment and urging us to execute the plan quickly. After hearing the answer, Tesoro's mouth twitched again. Luo Yi, the psychological hints are so powerful, then we. Tesoro started a fierce discussion again, while Luo Yi, who was in charge, was asleep in the room. The next day, inside the Grand Tesoro, In the Golden Entertainment Street, there is also the largest casino in the Grand Tesoro, which is the most gold-sucking place on the entire street and even the entire Grand Tesoro. Inside the casino, all kinds of people wander in the casino, spending money like dirt. Especially the pirates, these people who snatch money by force, like these places the most. Among the crowd, one person was quite eye-catching. It was at a private gaming table with no croupiers. A group of gamblers with weird looks and ferocious faces all smiled and stared at one of the giants. The rich took a detour when they saw it. The giant man, with short black hair, is about 2.7 meters tall, wearing a lavender kimono, with a black and purple bandage tied around his waist, and a purple cloak hanging around his neck and covering it all the time. Most of his body. This giant man closed his eyes tightly, and on the left side of his forehead there was an X-shaped scar extending all the way to his eyes. That is a blind man. Blind people gambling in casinos, or playing poker, are of course eye-catching. Uncle, it's your turn, how much do you bet? A pirate licked his lips, glanced at his own card, and said, my card face is club 10, a pair of card 3, AK, uncle, your card face is 2Q, a heart 4, a red heart A, how much do you bet? Oh, is it your turn to play? The playing cards are pretty good. The eyes of the blind giant moved under his eyelids and pushed half of the chips on the table. This deck is worth betting half down. I have no luck if I don't believe it. Ha, maybe uncle, your luck today is that bad. The pirate laughed and said, the cards are drawn. He flipped the whole card and revealed a 10 again. Uncle, I am a 2 pair, a pair of 10 and a pair of 3, you open the card. The blind man touched his hands on the table and touched his whole card. After opening it, he said to the people watching the game, can anyone tell me what this card is? When the people around were about to talk, they saw the fierce people on the table glaring at them, and some of them even took out their knives and licked them with their tongues. Threat means nothing to say. Uncle, let me help you see it. Quote. A gambler sitting next to him chuckled and leaned over to take a look. Oh, uncle, your whole card is a heart 7, then you only have a pair of QS, you can't beat the opposite 2 pairs, you lost. How come? The blind man collapsed with a face, and said in a bit of tears, I feel something underneath. It should be an A. Actually, I lost again underneath. Ha ha ha. The nearby people laughed and patted the uncle's shoulder, it's bad luck. After all, you have won so much before. There should always be times when you have bad luck. It's normal. You don't need to care. Yeah, I won. The 2 pairs of pirates showed a smile, and stood up to take away the bargaining chip in front of the blind man. Isn't this a, how could it be heart 7? Just when the pirate's hand was about to touch the chips pushed by the blind man, an arm in a high-end white suit protruded out, drew out the cards in the blind man's hand, and placed it on the table. It is not the so-called red heart 7, but an A. In this case, uncle, you are also 2 pairs, and you are bigger than his. It is clear that you have won. That male voice is quite magnetic. Everyone looked over and saw that it was a young man in a white suit and a white hat with black hair exposed under the brim of the hat. Is it a? The blind man asked in surprise. It's A, uncle, these people are cheating of your money. The man said. Smelly boy, take care of your business. A group of people stood up and yelled at the woman while holding weapons. A nearby man held a long knife and slashed straight at the man. Oh, if you fail to cheat, do you have to hit someone, but it's really useless. The man raised his head, the face covered by the hat was exposed to everyone's gaze, and the falling knife instantly stopped in the air, and everyone looked at the man in front of him in surprise. 143. Hey, really, no, I thought I would never touch it in this life. Ha ha ha, I was going to go to the paradise to kill you. I want to become celestial dragons. Take it to death. Monkey D. Luo Yi. Luo Yi looked at the many pirates in front of him, and smiled helplessly at the corner of his mouth. Why are you looking for death? The magic sword Thousand Blades came out of its sheath, and after playing a sword in the air, it was sheathed. Bump, bump. Luo Yi's pirates who were attacking in an instant stopped their actions and lay down standing upright. Everyone has a small smile in his heart. I didn't scare you, uncle. No, brother is really good at swordsmanship. The blind man's eyes opened slowly, revealing a little white of his eyes, looking at Luo Yi's direction. He said lightly, it's a blessing to not look at things. After all, there are too many nasty people in this world. Haha. Indeed. Luo Yi, why did you come here suddenly? Momosugi took Robin and ran from the door. The two were speechless looking at the corpses all over the floor. They could only quickly walk to Luo Yi's side, but Momosugi felt a huge sense of threat after seeing the blind man. It's just an uncle. Luo Yi looked at the uncle in purple and said lightly. Purple kimono, blind man, holding a cane in his hand, there is a weapon in it, it must be a sword. There is only one person who has these characteristics, and in perception, his life breath is strong and terrible. Fujitora Admiral of Future Marine smiled. Chapter 92. Advertise here. Hey, hello, what's the situation? It's all dead bodies. What a disappointment. When the three were chatting with Yishao, a very arrogant voice came from the door. After a man in black and white leather came in from the door, he looked at the corpses all over the floor and yelled loudly, and then looked towards Luo Yi, but when the man saw Luo Yi, his body trembled and he froze on the spot. Okay. Luo Yi suddenly felt the hostility of the other party, and sighed in his heart that it was another damn wanted warrant. If you really want to kill people on the road, these people can't see their own strength. 20 years, 20 full years, I miss you so much. Luo Yi. The skin on the man's body suddenly dyed red, and steam came out and rushed towards Luo Yi quickly. The strong speed and power shattered the ground paved with gold. Luo Yi glanced at the people beside him, and rushed over in an instant. The two collided in the air, and the impact of the powerful force produced a huge storm. That man was a ghost just now. Shi Zihao. Momosuke, who was holding Robin and avoiding the storm, looked at the strong man in front of Luo Yi with his fists and said in surprise. Who is that? Robin, who was hiding in Momosuke's arms, asked curiously. I want to know too. The blind man's smile easily escaped the flying gaming table. A maritime overlord 10 years ago. 20 years ago, he was easily defeated by Luo Yi when he was young, and then he planned to be imprisoned in Impel Down. However, because he escaped during the escort, he was defeated by Aokiji Admiral and spent a few days in the battle 10 years ago, and was charged into Impel Down. Quote. But it seems to have been escaped too. When Momosuke explained to Robin, Shi Zihao and Luo Yi faced hundreds of punches. You guy has disappeared for 20 years, Luo Yi. Tier 3 burst. Shi Zihao's skin showed a red glow, and his speed and strength increased exponentially again. Luo Yi also shook his fist quickly based on the opponent's strength. After the two fists faced each other, the huge force produced a huge explosion that shattered the ground and filled with smoke. In the smoke produced by the explosion, two figures flew out together. One was Luo Yi wearing a white hat and a white suit. The other is indeed wearing a white and black leather jacket, and escaped from Impel Down. Shi Zihao, who existed at the level of the maritime hegemon in the past. The two figures each stopped on the ground. Shi Zihao stared at each other closely, and his straight body could launch a terrible offensive at any time. Ah, it turned out to be you. I think of it, the strength is much stronger than that of the past. I remember that when you broke out 5 times that year, it was something I beat. Luo Yi looked at Shi Zihao on the opposite side plainly. Shi Zihao, who was full of red light, was like a human-shaped soldering iron just taken out of the calciner, exuding a terrifying aura. Shi Zihao stared at Luo Yi in a white suit in front of him. 20 years ago, when I just entered New World and was preparing for a generous brilliance, Luo Yi, the bastard, returned to naval headquarters, and got rid of it by the way. If it weren't for luck, and accidentally escaped during the escort, I still don't know what will happen. Then I hid myself and constantly exercised my body and strength. A few years later, when I finally planned to come out to find Luo Yi for revenge, I found that this person didn't exist at all in the world. I can only work hard to develop his power in New World, and I have gained a reputation as a ghost, and collected things about Luo Yi everywhere. 10 years ago, he was deceived by Doflamingo to have news of the person he was looking for. When he followed him to intercept the heavenly gold, he was caught by the defeat of Aokiji that year. Shi Zihao was imprisoned on the 6th floor of Impel Down, the bottom one. Eternal hell. Question mark. Since that time, freedom, dreams, wine, adventure, all these beautiful things have left Shi Zihao, and the culprit of all this is the obsession with Luo Yi and the hateful Aokiji. If it weren't for being deceived by Doflamingo and thinking that Luo Yi appeared on the golden side of the sky, how could he run into Aokiji? How could he lose to Aokiji by one stroke and be imprisoned? 10 years is a long time, and his whole life is not even a few decades. Shi Zihao was only 30 years old when he was arrested on the 6th floor of Impel Down. It can be said that he was at the age of glory in life. But this time, but only the lonely darkness, within a few meters of a small cell, had lost the concept of time, vast sleepy, like a zombie-like through this decade. 10 years, one thing has not diminished, but as time goes on more and more stronger. That is the concept of executive Luo Yi hatred and Aokiji of 10 years, Shi Zihao obsession accumulate in the body and how strong hatred, and even his own is not clear. Of course, mainly for Aokiji hatred, and for Luo Yi, only obsession over the years generated. So when Blackbeard was released he went off alone naval headquarters, saw the Luo Yi and naval headquarters battle. Question mark. Shi Zihao, not a sucker, experienced what prison he is more important to understand freedom, not for revenge, finally freed Shi Zihao will not kick taken Impel Down, the other kick it into the naval headquarters. But to see so many strong naval headquarters, Shi Zihao revenge can only give up to Aokiji and instead return to the new world, came to the casino dream life. He thought that this life is not able to use their strength to exercise too strong Luo Yi fight, and did not expect to actually be able to come here, but Luo Yi. Upright torso, even wearing a plain black and white leather, it is difficult to cover up with that kind of hockey, the year that were reputed New World Overlord Shi Zihao reproduced the world. You idiot Luo Yi, then your free punch took me stunned, readily put me into Impel Down when not care, perhaps you thought I had been able to stand before you now. Ah, really I do not. After the air stopped stature, Luo Yi have long been lazy hint of a smile face covered dignified, face Shi Zihao this level of strong, Luo Yi worth a little bit seriously. who was released Conqueror's sixth layer in front of Luo Yi, their Shi Zihao the Conquerors. But at the time Luo Yi did not care about this world only way Luo Yi care about Conquerors only the same can cause red hair shanks substantive harm Conquerors. Shi Zihao ability, however fruits of it very interesting, the ability to rely on the fruit does give Luo Yi bring a lot of fun. After all, he broke the fruit, can help to enhance his own power doubled, the outbreak of the first order is multiplied by 2, 2 bands are multiplied by 4 and so on and so forth. Luo Yi, 10 layers of my stay in prison, is not static, stay put and lack of progress does not move, obsession is kind of motivating force people move forward. Quote. I then see, which is more than 2 decades next year and only you are so easy to beat me. Even Aokiji I just barely wins a trick to overcome your obsession has been around for 20 years in my mind. Quote. Question mark. Shi Zihao arms startled, and even more powerful momentum broke out, the body emit red light through rapid shift towards orange. Exudes a powerful blast from the body out of sky, is just the outbreak of more than prestige, let the ground at the foot of the golden bear, a channel for distributing crack open at the foot of Shi Zihao. In the blast driven around the blast rising range, from the foot broken gold fly, rushed straight into the sky. 7 order outbreak. Oh, he broke out 7 order, to enhance their strength 128 times it. Interesting. Looking at each other momentum outbreak, Luo Yi mouth lift angle greater. Blast swept down the fire in the ground paved with gold, like a powerful shock wave produced by the collision. Robin and many gamblers had to struggle with both hands and stand in front of the cross. Trembling under the impact of the body, not to mention the battle, not only to maintain the stand was blown away, it just barely. It was good flash. Question mark. Just think of the sound of the voice, all of a sudden, Shi Zihao flash figure appeared behind the Luo Yi, he raised his right foot suddenly turned into a red streamer to Luo Yi who do not go kick. Question mark. Bang. Bang. Question mark. Continuous shock rang twice. Soon after Shi Zihao and Luo Yi leg thrown collided outbreak produced 2 feet brick ground floor turned into powder, scattered on the ground. The other is sound Shi Zihao speed breakthrough some kind of human limits, to achieve faster than the speed of sound, the sound of the sonic boom produced. Huge smoke mixed with gold dust would cover both again. Luo Yi, just upset that kick it. Instantly appear in 10 meters outside the smoke Shi Zihao, hands across their chests, Shi Zihao joy voice sounded. For 2 decades, I do not know how many days and nights, Shi Zihao thinking kicks kick Luo Yi revenge hatred of the year, finally got what they wanted. Not bad. In terms of strength and speed you a lot stronger than Aokiji. Varied. Shi Zihao appear to be behind the Luo Yi punch hit cheek, powerful speed and power Shi Zihao will become a red-orange light flying out of the casino, bang bang, like a meteor fly it within the building across from the distant. Chapter 93. Advertise here. Ha ha ha, that's what makes it interesting. Boom. Shi Zihao's figure instantly rushed out of the destroyed building, and the orange-red light and shadow rushed to Luo Yi with his body. Bump, bump, bump. 4 arms full of armed colors collided with each other, and the figures of the 2 people were no longer visible in the eyes of others. Only a pothole appeared on the ground of the gold bricks, and the air in the sky suddenly exploded. As for the figures of the 2 people, they seem to be everywhere, and they don't seem to be everywhere. It's really scary 2 people. With a smile, he activated his abilities silently, using gravity to protect the Great Thorold from being affected by the power of the 2 people. As this the power of New World? Robin swallowed and watched the battle before him. Luo Yi. As long as Momosugi is worried about Luo Yi's situation. Ha ha ha, as expected, only you can have such a fistful fight with me. I have been looking forward to it for 20 years. Shi Zihao felt the power and speed from Luo Yi's arm and fist. The opponent fought with him who had increased so many times without the fruitful blessing. This made Shi Zihao excited. 143 After all, Aokiji defeated him. I still rely on the constant harassment of air conditioning and naturalization. As for now, 10 years later, Shi Zihao can guarantee that Aokiji's speed cannot easily capture himself with air conditioning. Hey. You are not bad too, dance more and bring me fun. Luo Yi is also a rare person who has encountered such a fist, and he feels the joy of fighting. Sure enough, men should communicate with their fists instead of magma, ice, light, etc. all the time. Come on, Luo Yi. Ah, the 2 armed and dark fists slammed into each other, and the friction between the powerful speed and the air caused a huge flame to explode in the air. The 7-fold burst is equivalent to 128 times the strength and speed of Shi Zihao's normal state. With the addition of an adult's punching power, it can reach 50 kg. Magnified by 128 times is nearly 6.5 tons of power. This is just an ordinary person, but as a maritime overlord, Shi Zihao's ordinary state is also 100 times that of an ordinary person. In this state, Shi Zihao's power would certainly not be a problem to blast a pirate ship with 1 punch. Luo Yi was also very excited, except for having fought with Roger and Garp a year ago, it has been a long time since hockey combined with power and speed. Ba fist. Luo Yi's body flashed with black and red lightning, and his right fist was thrown out, and a black and red dragon was thrown out of Luo Yi's fist. The dragon's body was swaying, and it looked like a huge body, but the speed was extremely fast, and it was close to Shi Zihao in an instant. Without dodge, even if this kind of attack dodges at such a short distance, it is too late. Shi Zihao exhaled deeply, squeezed his fists with both hands, his whole body strength was concentrated on his hands, and the high bulging muscles contained all of them. With explosive power. With both fists clenched, powerful power erupted, and a slight muffled sound came out. This was the sound of the air being pinched in the fist. If you watch Luo Yi and Shi Zihao fighting from a distance at this time, someone will have their eyes on Shi Zihao, and they will feel a sense of distorted blur in both eyes. It's so strong, so far away, you can feel that powerful force, even the surrounding air is twisted. He smiled and admired, without concealing the surprise in his heart. When he moved, Shi Zihao moved, and saw his clenched fists struck each other strangely, and at the moment when the fists were about to touch, his fingers crossed out. Question mark. Ghost kill, ghost tiger. In the void, the air waves rolled, and a vague white giant tiger rushed out along the crossed fingers. The white tiger opened its mouth and screamed, facing the ice dragon and rushed onto a white giant tiger, a giant dragon more than 10 meters long. The ground paved with this golden brick serves as a battlefield, as if two legendary beasts were revived in the hands of Shi Zihao and Luo Yi, causing a shocking collision. Boom. Amidst the astonishing loud noise, only a white wave of air soared into the sky at the center of the collision, huge cracks emerged on the trembling ground, and the hard gold bricks shattered into gold powder and floated in the air. The shock wave generated by the collision spreads out in all directions at a 360-degree angle at the moment the air wave rises, like a huge storm swept over it. Question mark. What? Question mark. Wherever the impact passes, even if Momosuke resists most of the storm. But Robin felt a huge force bombarding his body, and then he lost control of his body and flew out like a broken kite. It's troublesome. Shave. Momosuke saw Robin who was blown away, but only one Robin who was fainted with a shave caught up with Robin and hugged her away from the battlefield. With a smile, he mobilized his ability to protect all the gamblers as much as possible, and sighed in his heart that fortunately, he was here. Otherwise, it is hard to say how many people died today after Luo Yi and Shi Zihao's battle. Fortunately, there is no one here. Gilder Tesoro, who had just rushed over after feeling the strong atmosphere of battle, also sighed. Fortunately, most of the tourists and pirates who were afraid of getting involved and fled, did not cause much casualties. Sage pirates? Question mark. Hada. The fierce shock wave even blew away the golden smoke from the explosion. Luo Yi and Shi Zihao quickly emerged, but the situation of the two seemed a little strange. Shi Zihao, his entire right arm was slightly twisted, and it spread to the shoulders. If the entire arm is not processed as soon as possible, it will be abolished. And Luo Yi just got a little golden powder stained on his white suit, and walked back easily. This is the first time I have seen such a powerful physique with hockey attack, a concentrated ultra-high-speed four-fist attack on the opponent, the shock wave formed by first compressing the air and then spreading it in one breath. You are very good. Shi katakana middle. Zihao. A happy smile appeared on Luo Yi's face. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Question mark. Click. The right arm shook, the twisted right arm shook slowly, and the fast-flowing blood took away the blood on his arm. Shi Zihao moved his shoulder and looked at Luo Yi happily before him. It seems that not only I have become stronger, but you have also become stronger. Luo Yi. Shi Zihao's fighting spirit boiled over again. I want to do my best. Be careful not to die. Luo Yi. Come on. Ah. Seeing Shi Zihao yelling to accumulate energy in place, Luo Yi didn't mean to interrupt. Luo Yi looked forward to the other party bringing him more interesting battles. 8th tier explosion. The purple-red aura appeared on Shi Zihao's body. Just standing still, the aura on his body twisted the space. Ha ha ha, is it 256 times stronger? Interesting, come on. Luo Yi couldn't help laughing when he saw the other person. Moment. The two rays of black and fuchsia collided in the square in front of them, causing an air burst. This is an interesting battle. It made me want to join too. Chapter 94. Advertise here. Huh, why are you here? Tesoro looked at him in a military uniform next to him, with a white bandage bullet exposed in the uniform. And Bullet did not answer his question, but focused on watching the battle that took place in front of him. With Bullet's eyes, he couldn't keep up with Luo Yi and Shi Zihao's battle. However, Observation Hockey urged Observation Hockey to perceive the two figures quickly colliding in the space in front of him, and the huge storm disturbed Bullet's hairstyle. It's really bad luck, how can I appease those tourists this time? Seeing that Bullet ignored what he meant, Tesoro turned his head to look at the battlefield, thinking about how to save it. After all, the world government and the revolutionary army on his own ship didn't dare to directly take action. As a result, since Luo Yi came, he fought such a powerful battle twice in a row. There was a loud bang, and the gold-paved ground quickly spread around the surroundings like a spider web. The huge gold nugget flew up under the impact, and the wave of air was like a hurricane sweeping the gold ground, breaking through the gravity protection of a smile. Tourists and pirates were lifted more than 10 meters away by the air waves. Shi Zihao's figure burst out in the air waves, his feet stepped on the ground, and a muffled sound suddenly burst when each step fell on the ground, and he retreated more than 10 steps. Shi Zihao was able to retreat. Remove this impact completely. Stopping the retreat, Shi Zihao's chest tumbled, his mouth was sweet, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his body, splashing on the golden ground like a bright red flower blooming. Wiping off the blood from the corners of his mouth, he raised his head and focused his eyes on Luo Yi in front of him. It's really strong. I didn't expect that I couldn't beat the 8th stage you. It looks like your abilities have side effects. Luo Yi looked at the blood spit out by the opponent. After all, his attack just now did not include emission to attack the opponent's body. It seems that the blood that Shi Zihao vomited should not be able to carry such a high-intensity load on his body. Ha ha ha, there is indeed a problem. I can't support this state for much time. Shi Zihao exhaled a large amount of white air when he opened his mouth, and the intense heat in his body obscured the surrounding air. The ultra-high-speed flow of blood makes the heart beat violently. Hagi 100 ghosts. The fierce aura on Shi Zihao's body formed many fierce ghosts of various shapes, and the fierce ghosts followed Shi Zihao's attacking posture and made attacking postures to attack Luo Yi. Shi Zihao's feet pressed hard, and terrible power erupted from his body, and the power turned into a hurricane around Shi Zihao. Wherever he stood, dense cracks opened in the ground, and countless gold was blown by the hurricane. Rise. Yan Ghost Split Kill. The tumbling air wave rushed into the sky, and this red beam of light attracted many people's attention in an instant. Shi Zihao squeezed his fists with both hands, and the powerful force in his body gathered in his fists, and shot forward like a violent storm. It's like Hawaiiquan moves, but night and day is a single-point attack, and Yangui Split Kill is an all-round attack. The same high-speed punches and air friction create flames, which are matched by hitting the air. The shock wave mingled with the flame to launch a flame impact. Sacrificing a single power to increase the range of attack, the shock wave of burning flames is like a downpour, the flames covering half of the sky, the temperature between the sky and the earth has risen a lot, and a scorching hot wind slaps on the face. Luo Yi looked at the many fierce ghosts and flames of fist rain coming in front of him, squatting with his legs, and closing his fist into his abdomen with his right fist. Conqueror's haki on his body was compressed 1 meter around him, and red lightning filled his body. Bullet. You can compress Conqueror's haki of such a quality to this point. Tesoro. Damn it, don't let them ruin this place. Golden Ball. Tesoro pressed his hands on the golden ground, and the gold came alive like a liquid, and rushed up to form a ball to cover the two fighting people. Departure. Luo Yi has a strong Conqueror's haki in his left hand and waved his hand to disperse the fierce ghosts that hit him, and his right hand blasted out with the power of terror. Following Luo Yi Conqueror's haki, a black and red dragon appeared from Luo Yi's fist and rushed towards Shi Zihao in the air. In Shi Zihao's eyes, it was like a black and red dragon entwined with lightning and attacked at him with its mouth long. The surrounding space appeared cracks after the dragon passed by. Damn it, this can't be hardened. Shi Zihao, who was full of red air waves, was extremely fast, and his figure kept flashing, avoiding the dragon's attack. But at this moment, a force struck in the invisible void. Shi Zihao only felt a sense of crisis in his heart, and his instinct was about to dodge. 0. Look for flowers. But as soon as the front foot stepped out, an invisible force in the void formed a shackle, which tightly trapped Shi Zihao. What's the matter? What kind of power is this? Demon fruit power. Shi Zihao's face changed drastically. Although he couldn't see what was imprisoning him, he could clearly feel the invisible power in the void. Drive me. With his fists clenched, Shi Zihao let out a roar, and the mighty haki burst out, and the red wave of air emanating from the entire body of the haki layer doubled instantly. Click. There was a faint muffled sound, and it was annihilated by the sound of the tumbling air wave before it dispersed, but Shi Zihao could obviously feel the shackles on his body dissipate. Shi Zihao, whose eyes were full of dignity and vigilance, stared closely at the dragon attacking in front of him, but at this moment, a white figure rushed out of a piece of broken space debris. It was Luo Yi, who was extremely fast, and quickly rushed into the red air wave around Shi Zihao. The powerful red air wave could not block Luo Yi in the slightest. Not good. When Shi Zihao saw Luo Yi and realized Luo Yi had already rushed in front of him. Luo Yi squeezed his fists with both hands and bombarded Shi Zihao's back like a sky cannon. Puff. Feeling an irresistible force came. All parts of the body trembled under the squeeze of this force, and several mouthfuls of blood spurted from his mouth, and Shi Zihao suddenly flew upside down like a broken kite. Shi Zihao smashed heavily on the ground. The huge force shattered the golden ground and broke through the golden protective wall that Tesoro had just released. Luo Yi easily caught his dragon in the air, absorbed it into his body, and slowly descended to Shi Zihao's side, watching the opponent spit blood crazily on the ground, and his body had returned to a normal state. It looks like you have lost again, Shi Zihao. If you can reach tier 9, you can fight with me. What a pity. Luo Yi inserted Kabuto and looked at Shi Zihao and said. Shi Zihao cracked the corners of his mouth. If you want to kill, kill. That's so much nonsense. Good. The magic sword Thousand Blades came out of its sheath and aimed at Shi Zihao, who was lying on the ground. Shi Zihao also closed his eyes and waited to die. Wait. Keep someone under the knife. Righteousness. Chapter 95. Advertise here. Lord Luo Yi, please wait. Hearing the shouts behind him, Luo Yi turned around and waved a slash to the past. What? Tesoro saw the black and red slashes slashing towards him, and he immediately blocked his hands with his hands. The strengthening of the armed color and the golden liquid formed a wall in front of him. The slash easily pierced the golden wall, slashed on Tesoro's arms in front of him, and pushed Tesoro back several tens of meters before barely stopping. The sparks generated by the friction between the shoes and the ground were still in the air. Wandering. Luo Yi glanced at Tesoro, whose arms were bleeding, and said, "Don't talk to me in your tone, I don't like it." Tesoro felt the fiery pain in his arms and nodded quickly. After seeing the other party nodding and acknowledging their counsel, when thinking that the other party's plan was still useful for him, Luo Yi put away the magic knife Chindian and asked, "Let's talk, what do you want to do? Let me save him specifically." Tesoro quickly stepped forward, glanced at Shi Zihao who was lying on the ground, breathing heavily, and then said flatly to Luo Yi. "Shi Zihao is still very strong in combat, and he can give a lot of impetus to our plan, and he and I are also old friends. Really, I will give you a face this time, but there will be no next time." "Yes, thank you Lord Luo Yi." After watching Luo Yi walk into the casino, Tesoro sighed and looked at Shi Zihao who was still lying in the pit. He used his ability to repair the damaged golden ground around him, and brought Shi Zihao and Bullet back to the hotel. Inside. This monster. It's terrible, run away. When Luo Yi entered the casino and sat before and after a smile, the gamblers and wealthy people who hid in the casino didn't dare to act, ran out like they were fleeing for their lives. "Sorry, uncle." Luo Yi glanced at the rich people who ran away, and smiled as he opened his white eyes and looked at Luo Yi for a while, then smiled and cracked his mouth. I don't seem to be much older than you, monkey katakana middle. D Luo Yi. Luo Yi glanced at the other's pale eyes and said, "You shit, aren't you blind? How do you know it's mine?" "The old man is blind, but not deaf. The pirates just called your name." Do you want to be celestial dragons?" Looking at the sword with a smile that popped out of the scabbard, Luo Yi was sitting still knocking on Erlang's leg. "I just like to gamble, and I don't want to join the world government to become celestial dragons." With a smile, he slowly pulled out the sword, his eyes rolled out a little white, and aimed at Luo Yi who was still sitting. "Besides, I am a Ronin in the lower body, and I have always wanted to fight against the great swordsman, try it out. I can't help but feel itchy when I see his swordsmanship now." I think so." Luo Yi felt the opponent's sword intent, touched his chin for a while, raised his brow, and stood up. "Forget it, you are also suitable." He and Yishao looked at each other, and for a while, both sides stood speechless and stood still. "Luo Yi, this is." Momosugi came here to watch Luo Yi and Yishao's opposition, and feel the sword intent from Yishao. Momosugi also sensed the meaning of the other person. "Would you like to try the sword with Luo Yi?" Luo Yi glanced at Robin in Momosugi's arms, holding the magic knife Thousand Blades, and staring at the front with a smile. "I said, brother, someone on my side is dizzy, or just forget it." He smiled and didn't answer his words, his eyes rolled up, and he stared at Luo Yi slowly, saying, "Yellow, red, blue. But not dyed black, but filled with black and red. Brother, your breath and color, full of evil taste, I am not at ease with you. In addition, Zai Sha is just a lonely person. When meeting a strong one, he has nothing to think about except to learn from him. Lord Luo Yi, the Golden Emperor will not resent him for this." He continued. "That's not true. He is not that stupid. Brother, you are like a monster. No one will easily push you to the opposite side." Luo Yi turned his head and replied. Luo Yi watched with a smile and gradually pulled out the stick and knife, and sighed slightly. "Then brother, I will verify your swordsmanship. I need to be merciful. I am very weak." Quote. Brother is very humorous. With a smile, he held the stick and knife with his backhand, and said in a deep voice, "From the bottom of my eyes, you are strong, like a monster among monsters." Call. A gentle breeze moved the clothes of the two men slightly, blowing the ends of their hair. Boom. Between the heaven and the earth, two slashes, one purple and one black and red, slammed together, triggering a shock wave, and cracking the surrounding gold again. Whoosh. When Luo Yi turned into an afterimage, and went straight away with a smile. The black blade of the magic knife Thousand Blades dyed with armed color rested on the smiled blade with a crisp sound. Kaka. Luo Yi pressed the knife forward, against the smiling blade, making a rubbing sound. "Brother, your strength is not small," Luo Yi said in surprise. "Brother, it's not weak." With a smile, he clenched his backhand, flicked forward and pushed Luo Yi's knife forward, and then his arm turned into an afterimage. The intensive attack was like raindrops, turning the knife into white light, rushing towards Luo Yi. Luo Yi also followed the other party and swung the knife. 0. Dang dang. Haimang and Ziguang kept on handing over, and with a smile, he retreated step by step as he was beaten by this series of attacks. "Brother, your strength is not small." Luo Yi blocked the smiling knife with a knife, and the blade turned, breaking the smiling knife apart. Then Luo Yi, "Try this." The smiled stick and knife turned into a forward grip, and he slammed on the ground, making a depression, and then holding it back again, swiping it horizontally at Luo Yi. Gravity knife, tiger. The purple breath turned into substance, and after swiping the knife horizontally, it continued to sweep in Luo Yi's direction. Boom boom boom. Under this knife, the ground was opened and shattered one after another, and the dirt turned into huge dust, which directly attacked Kuro. After half a meter from Luo Yi's body, he paused, and with a smile, he felt a chill from his neck and couldn't help but exclaim. Brother, you are really terrifying. I didn't expect that in addition to so strong physical skills, swordsmanship is stronger. Luo Yi retracted the magic knife Chinbian, and smiled at the uncle and said, it's okay, I only know a little bit of swordsmanship, but do you want 2 cards? Momosuke next to him almost vomited blood when he heard Luo Yi's words. You can only understand the swordsmanship that can cut the splitting void. You are too annoying. With a smile, Luo Yi put away the magic knife Thousand Blades, and after hearing the other party's words, he thought for a while, he nodded and put the stick knife into the scabbard. So that's it, brother is of this kind of personality, the world does not seem to be immutable, but for the specifics, we have to continue to observe and observe. He knocked on the ground with a wooden stick, turned and left, glanced at where Momosuke was, and murmured, are you former Marine? It's really interesting. Tisk. Seeing leaving with a smile, Luo Yi couldn't help but snorted. He originally planned to come here to play cards, but because he helped with a smile, there is now no one living person in the casino except himself and Momosuke. Glancing at the dilapidated casino in front of him, Luo Yi got up and said to Momosuke, go, change to the casino, I don't believe it, I still can't play cards today. Good. Just when Luo Yi and Momosuke, who had fainted with Robin, started to make money in another casino, the president of the World Economic News Agency called. Big news. Morgan's phone rang. Gilder Tesoro, what is this guy calling for? Quote. Morgans glanced at the phone bug and murmured curiously. Chapter 96. Advertise here. I didn't expect you to call me, Tesoro, what's the matter? Is your big Sotoro not working well? Should I increase the amount of publicity again? Morgans gently stroked the phone worm's shell with the feather on his hand, looking forward to the Golden Emperor on the opposite side of the phone to bring himself a good business again. Tesoro on the opposite side just said lightly. I have news about Raftel's eternal pointer. Raftel. Morgans just felt very familiar when he heard the name, but didn't remember what the island was for a while. After all, every day to deal with news from all over the world leads to a lot of place names. If they do not appear frequently, Morgans will not remember them at all. Ha ha ha, what, do you dare to claim the big news like this? Does Raftel even know? Then I will give you another name, the final island, the place where One Piece is. Is that the place to become One Piece? Before Tesolo's words were over, Morgans followed up with Tesolo's words in 09. After hearing Morgan's words, the phone worm showed Tesolo's signature smile and said, how about it, man, are you satisfied with the news of me? Hey, did you guys really get news about the eternal pointer to the ultimate island? Morgans patted the table with both hands, stood up and called to the phone bug. Hey, don't be so excited, the news is the source, but that thing is not in my hands. Don't talk nonsense about it, otherwise I will die miserably. The phone worm also showed a strange smile after feeling Morgan's shock. Then where did you know this guy? Ah, the pointer itself was purchased by me, from someone. But you also know that this thing is a hot potato, I will not leave such dangerous things on my side. Quote. Go on, don't pant. Morgan stared at the phone and shouted. Oh, so I traded this thing to Douglas Bullet the other day. But this guy's attitude makes me not very fond of it, so I intend to let you announce the fact that Bullet carries the eternal pointer of the ultimate island to the world. Quote. Morgans widened his eyes. Are you crazy? If the world government knew about it, it wouldn't let me go. Regardless of whether this news is true or not, if it is me who announces this kind of news to the world. Quote. We can do it, such as collecting Bullet news and manipulating some little pirates. And I got the news here, Bullet really wants to go to the Paradise side, would you like to inform the reporter on the Sabayati Archipelago side? Yesterday, Tesolo, who was threatened by Luo Yi with a knife on his neck to complete the plan quickly, had to start a plan with a big newsman, a plan to announce the news of the final island to the world. 2 days later, Luo Yi and others boarded a small boat provided by Tesolo in the port of the Great Thorold. Although it is a boat search, it is safe enough to navigate the unstable waves of this new world. Master Luo Yi, Master Tesolo asked me to bring you the news that Shizihao and Bullet have already started to implement their plans. In about a few days, that matter will spread all over the world. Baraka bowed respectfully and said to Luo Yi, who had changed into a black suit. After Luo Yi heard what the other party said, he waved his hand to her and said, okay, I see. Let them better hurry up. Are the pointers on this ship ready? Hi, the pointers of all nearby islands are prepared in the collection room on the ship, and the Baileys you won in our casino these days are also put in the safe on the ship. Bakara remembered Luo Yi's mouth twitching a few times after winning over 1 billion pele in the casino these days. Although your way of exuding 1,000 is so powerful that people can't see it, but we can't beat you when we give 1,000. You are not what you are. Well, all right, let's go. Luo Yi walked into the boat. Momosuke and Robin had already understood the boat. Momosuke saw Luo Yi boarding the boat and asked, where should I go next? I don't know, just walk around and travel easily in this new world. Okay. The boat started up and galloped quickly across the sea. Bakara, who respectfully watched Luo Yi's ship leave, slowly breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the phone bug in his arms and called Tesoro. At the same time, at the end of the first half of the Grand Line, Sabayati Archipelago. On the coast of Island Number 3, two strong figures stood here observing the nearby breath. Hey, right here. There are a lot of pirates gathering. Oh, good luck. There are also a lot of marines, and celestial dragons have them too. It's luck. Shi Zihao said to Bullet beside him wearing a black leather jacket. Well, it can spread the fact that I have pointers directly and quickly, and I am also looking forward to fighting with you. Bullet looked at Shi Zihao with a terrifying smile. Come on then. Be careful not to be killed by me. Tier 4 burst. Ha ha ha, come on. The two rushed towards each other. Half an hour later, Kizaru, who came quickly after receiving news of the celestial dragons being attacked from naval headquarters, looked at the ruined Island 3 in front of him and opened his eyes in surprise. It's terrible. What kind of guy can destroy this place? It seems that most of the celestial dragons can't live 147. The giant tree symbolizing Island Number 3 fell to the ground, and flames were burning everywhere, and the bodies of marines and pirates were scattered everywhere. Huh, where is it? 8-foot mirror. Perceiving two powerful forces colliding in the distance, Kizaru's hands were rounded into a mirror on his chest. The beam of light flew out of the mirror in his hand, turned in the air a few times, and then quickly moved towards the goal. To fly over. Give Lousy the eternal pointer of the final island. Bullet. Shi Zihao, who was fighting with Bullet, sensed a powerful aura and rushed towards this side quickly, and hurriedly shouted at Bullet. Humph. Then come and beat me. Bullet in the form of a devil collided with Shi Zihao in the 5th stage, and the fighting between the two kept destroying some of the remaining intact ground on the 3rd island. Oh, it seems to know some terrible news. Kizaru stood in the air watching the two fighting each other. From the words of the two of them, Kizaru widened his eyes when he heard the eternal pointer of the final island. What are you looking at? Kizaru. Marine. Die to me. Nani. When Kizaru was distracted, Shi Zihao and Bullet quickly bullied him, and the fists containing Haki attacked Kizaru heavily. Chapter 97. Advertise here. Bump. What are you talking about? The eternal pointer of the ultimate island. Are you sure those two people said that? Sengoku, who had just applied for retirement from Mariajoy and had a quarrel with 5 elders about trusting the inauguration of Martial Marine, has just returned to naval headquarters. As soon as Sengoku sat down, he heard Kizaru's report with a bruised nose and swollen nose, and immediately slapped the table in surprise and yelled at Kizaru. Yeah, hiss. Marshal Sengoku, hiss. At that time, the two people were fighting for that pointer. After they found me, they planned to work together to kill me. Fortunately, the old man ran fast, hiss. Kizaru, with a blue nose and a swollen face, touched the wound when he spoke, and his originally wretched face became more wretched because of the pain. He took a breath after saying a word. Although Kizaru, who is Admiral of Marine Headquarters, is not afraid of the two people joining forces, it is just that the existence of the news is more dangerous than arresting two pirate criminals, so it is urgent to send the information back to the headquarters. Kizaru didn't want to waste time fighting, but the two guys didn't think so at all. Kizaru is also depressed in his heart. Why do these two bastards keep hitting him in the face? It always feels like someone ordered it, but unfortunately I don't have any evidence. Honey Ghost, Shi Zihao and Douglas Bullet of the Heir of the Devil, the two really troublesome escaped from the 6th floor. But why does Bullet, who has been imprisoned for more than 20 years, have the eternal pointer of the ultimate island? Quote. Sengoku thought about this series of strange questions, and continued after a moment of silence. It stands to reason that when he was arrested, Bullet had no pointers on his body. Did he hide it, and then found it after escaping from Impel down? How did Shi Zihao learn the news? Kizaru, with a bruised face, looked at Sengoku, who was looking down in thought, but also secretly depressed. Bump. There was another loud noise. Sengoku, it's not good, something has happened. Suru Vice Admiral opened the door with a newspaper in his hand and shouted at Sengoku. Sengoku stopped thinking and looked at his longtime friend. Little Suru, what's wrong? What happened? Suru Vice Admiral didn't answer Sengoku's news, but just walked up and put the newspaper in his hand on Sengoku's desk. Sengoku picked up the newspaper with a look of doubt, and when he saw the headline of the newspaper, his eyes widened in shock and said, why did the reporter know about this and announced it? On the front page of the newspaper, it read, a former member of the Roger Pirates, Douglas Bullet possesses the eternal pointer of the ultimate island, and lost sight of each other after fighting with the ghost, Shi Zihao in the Sabayati archipelago. Attached is a photo of the two fighting scenes. This time, the world is going to be disrupted. Hurry up. It is announced that all Marine generals in the headquarters are going to the meeting room. Sengoku hurriedly shouted to Marine outside the door. Yes, Marshal Sengoku, can't you let me retire quietly? Damn, it's Garp has retired. As a result, I still encounter this kind of bad news here. Sengoku pressed his temple with a headache. When Marine had a headache for this newspaper, the newspaper has been released to the world along with Newsbird. East Blue, Windmill Village. Hey, Garp, how long do you want to stay? Don't you return to Marine? The village chief tapped Garp's head with a cane, while Garp himself sat in the tavern bar with his head up and fell asleep. Watching Garp's nose soaked for a while, the village leader sighed weakly and walked out of the tavern. happened to see a news bird flying overhead. The village head hurriedly greeted and proceeded. The news bird flew down when he noticed it. After the village chief bought a newspaper, he watched the news bird fly away and opened the newspaper and started to read it. This is Garp. Something happened. The village chief ran quickly into the tavern. Calm belt, on Ruskana Island. It's dangerous. Ignoring Luffy being chased by a huge beast behind him, Rayleigh opened the newspaper he had just snatched from Newsbird and looked at it. After seeing the front page, he also opened his eyes wide. Bullet, and the eternal pointer was thrown into the sea by Roger. How could it appear in Bullet's hands? It seems that the world is about to change drastically, Roger. Quote. Accompanied by Luffy's scream, Rayleigh's glasses glowed, returning to his expressionless face again, but he recalled Roger's face in his mind. It looks like we're here early, Rayleigh, ha ha ha. Roger. The first half of the Grand Line, the Paradise. Captain, look at this news. What? The eternal pointer of the final island. Ha ha ha, isn't this the fastest way to get One Piece directly won? Ha ha ha, is One Piece's treasure. Really exciting. Go. To Sabayati Archipelago. One Piece lousy is here. The pirates on the Grand Line boiled up, stopped the plundering of their subordinates, and moved on to the Sabayati Archipelago, planning to fight for the pointer. Cry Kana Island. As the eternal pointer of the ultimate island. Eagle Eye looked at the news in the newspaper, and his eyes widened in surprise. Damn it, it hurts. Are you trying to strangle me? Shut up, this lady kindly bandaged you and you said such a thing. The quarrel between Zoro and Perona was heard in the ear, and Hawkeye also ignored what happened to Tenten in his own place, just whispered lightly. Does this matter have anything to do with you? Monkey D. Luo Yi, since you appeared, the fate of the world has started to change strangely, but... Touching the wound left by Luo Yi on his body, the corner of Yinyan's mouth lifted slightly. Next time I challenge you, I won't lose to you so easily. New World Dressrosa. In the palace, a blonde man wearing a fan feather coat is basking in the sun, with a bruise of footprints on his chest, floating up and down as the man breathes. Dover. Something went wrong. The plum cadre dragged Rapal to open the door and shouted to Doflamingo, who was resting. Doflamingo picked up his sunglasses and took his face, covered his eyes, and turned to look at him. What's the matter? Drag Rapal. Dragobble handed the newspaper in his hand to Doflamingo and said, look at. As a result, Doflamingo opened the newspaper and his body froze directly, causing Dragrapal to ask curiously, do you think Zhao Dover Yun? Hey, the eternal pointer of the final island, this is really a great gift. Let the notification go down, start our relationship, and investigate where Bullet will appear next time. We must be the first to get it before those monsters. Quote. Well, I got it. After watching Drago Labor's cumbersome figure leave, Doflamingo touched the injury he was kicked by Luo Yi half a month ago. Wait. Monkey D. Luo Yi, I will definitely let him you regret it. Doflamingo's laughter echoed in the palace. At the same time, on the sea not far from Dressrosa. A luxurious and light ship was floating on the sea. Luo Yi, where are we going? You just picked a pointer at that time. Momosuke, dressed in a sexy bikini, lay in the swimming pool on the boat and looked at Luo Yi drinking coke on the lounge chair. Luo Yi picked up the sunglasses on his face and looked at the pointer beside him. Let me see. Oh, it looks like Dressrosa. Chapter 98. Advertise here. New World, Wanokuni, Ghost Island. Kaido boss. Bang. Accompanied by a loud noise, Jack the Dro's huge body was punched out by Kaido, and he was smashed into the wall without being buckled. The king and queen looked at Jack who had been fooled into by themselves and called Kaido. Especially the other person's body deep in the wall, swallowed one after another, thanking that there is still a fool Jack, otherwise there will always be something unlucky for the two of them. Why bother Lousy when Lousy is sleeping well? Give Lousy an explanation, you too. Kaido's huge body smashed through the door and looked at the king and queen who were watching Jack with a blue face. The two people felt Kaido's gaze behind them, and cold sweat was silently left on their heads. He turned to Kaido and said, Boss Kaido, Jack has something to report to you. The king and queen sold Jack again. After Kaido heard what they said, he looked at Jack who had been smashed into the wall by himself, and after inserting his right hand into the wall to pull him out, I said to Jack, what do you want to tell Lousy? Boss Kaido, read this newspaper. Jack, with a rough skin, took out the newspaper held in a ball in his hand, and slowly and carefully unfolded it in front of Kaido's eyes. Kaido took a close look at the miserably crumpled newspaper. The font 147 on it was barely recognizable. After reading the photo, Kaido began to read word by word. The eternal pointer of the ultimate island. Then the historical text in Lousy's hands is useless. Where is this guy Bullet now? Lousy is going to kill him. Get the pointer in your hand. Quote. Boss Kaido, this news is in the newspaper, which means that the whole world can see this news. We should be ready to collide with several other four emperors. King said to Kaido, who was mad again, and Kaido glanced at him and replied. Then go to Joker, he still has the latest smile fruit that he didn't give me. By the way, let him collect the news for me. Jack, you go. Quote. Yes. After receiving Kaido's order, Jack began to summon his crew and set off toward Dressrosa. By the way, Boss Kaido, the snake sighed recently. Keep him okay and don't bother Lousy. Unless he lives enough. Kaido interrupted the talking queen directly. New World, IWC Tedoran. Mom, news of the Ultimate Island appeared in the newspaper. Huh, bullet. This guy came out too. What happened recently? Not only did Luo Yi that guy be wanted by the world government, but even Bullet appeared, and he also brought the eternal pointer of the Ultimate Island. Charlotte Perisparrow and Big Mom are reading the newspaper in the meeting room, and Big Mom's focus is on Bullet. After all, that guy was also quite strong back then, but it was a pity that he couldn't give birth to a child with him. Mom, what should we do? Charlotte Perisparrow asked at the Big Mom. Mama, let others notice the appearance of Bullet. If news from him is sent back immediately, I will personally take the pointer back, Mama, and send someone to Sabayati Archipelago to have a look. Quote. Big Mom thought of the eternal pointer in Bullet's hand, and strongly corrosive saliva flowed out of his mouth. I see, Mother. Hey, Shanks, look at this news. Ben Beckman found his unreliable captain with the news in his hand. Shanks sat on the boulder on the coast and looked at the waves in the distance. Huh, what's the matter? What news has appeared that made you so panicked? Wouldn't it be Luo Yi or Luffy's news again? Shanks looked back at Ben Beckman, who was usually not surprised, with a panicked expression, and teased amusedly. Not really. You can see for yourself. Shanks smiled and took the newspaper in Beckman's hand with his right hand, unfolded the newspaper and looked at it carefully. Okay. After Shanks looked at the photo on the front page of the newspaper, he looked at the figure on the photo. Isn't this Bullet sang? It's been a long time since I saw him. I heard that he was caught in Impel down. Unexpectedly, this time it was not only Luo Yi, but he also ran out, ha ha ha. Quote. Not really, Shanks, the focus is on the text below. After hearing Ben Beckman's news, Shanks continued to watch. Oh, it turned out to be Shi Zihao. It's been a long time since I saw him. 10 years ago, this guy also played with us many times. His abilities are quite interesting. The veins on Ben Beckman's forehead violently, but he didn't speak this time, just waiting for Shanks to look down by himself. Two people are fighting at Sabayati Archipelago, ha ha ha, why did the two of them run into each other? Ha ha ha. Then, according to the surviving pirates, they learned that the two were fighting for the eternal pointer of the Ultimate Island. Quote. Shanks's originally grinning expression immediately became serious after seeing the words of the Ultimate Island, and Haki began to appear beside Shanks involuntarily. As the eternal pointer of the Ultimate Island, Shanks murmured, remembering that when he was going on his last adventure, when he was going to the final island, he stayed on the island because he had to take care of the sick buggy, and everyone who didn't follow Roger's pirate's picture boarded the final island. And now there is an eternal pointer to the Ultimate Island. This is really distressing, don't you think, Captain Roger? Shanks closed his eyes and thought of the figure he had been following when he was a child, and a tear was involuntarily left in the corner of his eye. Shanks, I'm fine, but in the future, we must pay attention to the emergence of Bullet. The results of our hard and adventurous efforts back then can't let others just take advantage of it. Okay. Aboard the new mobile Dick. Whitebeard is having a banquet with his sons, Ace. Drink. Seeing that Ace was suffocating a large glass of wine by the many crew members, Whitebeard also smiled and watched the crowd coaxing, putting the wine in his hand into his mouth slowly. Hey, father, this kind of life is suitable for us. Marco stood beside Whitebeard, smiling and watching the crowd frolicking. Well, indeed, has there been news about Luo Yi lately? After all, we couldn't help him when he was besieged by Marine. That's not true, but that guy is as strong as a monster, so he should be fine. Okay. After hearing Marco's words, Whitebeard looked up at the sky and kept the news bird passing by. Marco, the news. Okay. Marco finished the change so that the blue flame bird flew into the sky, and soon came down with the newspaper. Daddy, here. When Whitebeard and Marco opened the newspaper together. Marco, pay attention, in case Linlin and Kaido act, we will stop them. The people Roger is waiting for can't show up in this way. Hi, XN. This is the country of that flamingo. Luo Yi looked at the island in front of him, and from a distance he could feel the enthusiasm of the people on it. Chapter 99. Advertise here. Dressrosa, one of New World's famous countries, is not only because his king is Don Quixote Doflamingo of 7 warlords of the sea, but the prosperity and peace of this country is also famous for the entire New World. People who come to Dressrosa will be attracted by these wonderful things. One is the charming fragrance of various flowers, the huge sunflower field is like a sea of golden flowers, and the delicious dishes that are proud of fragrance. The second is the passionate and beautiful dances of the tireless girls, coupled with the moving music, and the other is the most distinctive place in this country. They are life-bearing toys that blend into the town very naturally and live in peace with people. In an arena where this country is famous, there are countless warriors fighting here every day, and the winner will receive wonderful prizes that are enviable by ordinary people, and even enter the Don Quixote pirate group. But under this seemingly peaceful and prosperous country, the greatest darkness in the world is hidden, because this is the territory of the biggest middleman in the underworld, the clown. Well, it's really a prosperous country, it smells so good, eat. Smelling the scent from the air, I have eaten Momosagi's rice for several days. The scent makes Luo Yi very excited when he smells the scent. His nose is constantly twitching to find where this beautiful dish comes from. What? Is the meal I cooked bad? Momosuke asked Luo Yi with a sullen face and a smile. What do you think? Luo Yi asked Momosuke and stopped. Momosuke looked at Luo Yi who had torn off his suit and tie in front of him. I will do it well, and I will definitely do it once. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Robin was covering her mouth and watching the interaction between two people. Luo Yi taught her how to use the two-color hockey because she was bored on the boat. Robin was also learning to use it madly. Okay, this is the shop. Luo Yi and the three did not hide, they swaggered in the direction of Cribbit, and were in the cafe on the edge of the bridge leading to Greenbit. When the people on the road saw Luo Yi's face again, they were just surprised and went on to do their own things. After all, their king was also wanted by 7 warlords of the sea. Dover. Things are not good. Monkey D. Luo Yi appeared on the street, wandering openly. What? Doflamingo shouted out in surprise after hearing the report of Torbal, and then desperately suppressed his crazy thoughts with reason. Leave him alone, that guy is a monster, and we are not his opponents at all. Although he desperately wanted to kill Luo Yi and return to the Holy Land Mariajoy, the fear of Luo Yi's strength and hatred for celestial dragons made Doflamingo calm down. But Dover, shut up. Seeing Doflamingo yelling, Drago Rapal also retreated. After he closed the door, there was a violent noise in the room. Don't worry, Dover, whether it's Luo Yi's head or the eternal pointer of the final island, we will help you get it. Dragobble left the Doflamingo room secretly inwardly. Are you here going to Klimbit? I do not recommend you to go there. However, are you explorers or researchers? The coffee shop owner glanced at Luo Yi's attire and asked curiously. Almost, but boss, don't you really know me? Luo Yi smiled at Kaido, and took a bite of the steak in front of him. After a pause, he asked casually, by the way, boss, why is the bridge leading to Greenbit blocked? With that, Luo Yi glanced at the bridge not far away, and saw that the bridge head was sealed by a steel gate, and some signs of no entry, danger, etc. were placed in front of the gate. The talkative boss advised, of course I know you. Although you are wanted by the world government, ordinary people like us don't want to do any horrible things. Don't worry. As for there, if it's not for life-threatening things, I advise you not to go there. It is indeed an iron bridge. But as you can see, it has been closed because there was a bed of fish around Greenbite, and there seemed to be people on the bridge before they appeared, but that was also 200 years ago. Quote. Bed of fish, what is that? Robin raised his head and asked curiously. The boss stretched out his hands and gestured on his forehead. Betta fish is a very cruel and violent fish with horns on its forehead. If you approach them by boat, just wait for the boat to capsize. For this reason, the bridge has also been strengthened with iron, but it's just in vain. Quote. 0. Look for flowers. As he said, the boss shook his head. With that group of fighting fishes, no one should think of going to Grintel so easily. Robin was very surprised and said, in other words, even a bridge made of steel will be overturned by the fighting fish. Waved his hand, the boss said with a look of disapproval. Who knows what will happen to this bridge? Only people who have been there will know, but I have never seen anyone come back there before. As he said, the boss shook his head and walked into the room. He had already said everything. As for whether these people go or not, it is not his relationship. Robin was immediately taken aback by what the boss said, and he lowered his head and asked in a low voice, Luo Yi, are we going to that place? Drinking coffee. Luo Yi faintly Kaido. This is not true, it just happened to be here, but you haven't noticed that we have been under surveillance since we entered this country. As he said, Luo Yi raised his finger and pointed behind him. Robin quickly looked at him and found that several dark shadows were sneaking in the shadow of the alley. Robin said nervously, sure enough, will those guys suddenly attack us? What are they for? It should be my head, it's worth 6 billion after all, it's still a ticket to celestial dragons. Luo Yi drank coffee and replied, completely not taking the stalkers behind him seriously. Momosuke suddenly thought of the owner of this country, and said to Luo Yi, I think it is most likely to be Doflamingo's subordinate. After all, he was also celestial dragons before. Will he secretly attack us for the identity of celestial dragons? Well, it doesn't matter, that flamingo is just like that. Oh, this is the newspaper for the past 2 days, I haven't seen the news bird for several days. Luo Yi saw some newspapers piled up on the bar counter, and stretched out his hand towards the bar. The newspaper flew up and fell into Luo Yi's hand. Luo Yi opened it and slowly read it. Oh, they have already started to act. They made the headlines. No wonder the flamingo didn't bother us. It should be working hard for the eternal pointer. Luo Yi turned the newspaper in front of Momosuke and Robin, let them read it, and turned to look in the direction of Doflamingo's castle. Chapter 100. Advertise here. Holy Land, Mariajoy. The 5 elders looked at the newspaper they had just received on the table and discussed actively. Kimono 5 elders slashed open the sofa. What are you kidding? Why is this kind of news released? What does that guy Morgans want to do? Let's not mention Morgan's purpose. The fact that the ultimate island has eternal pointers has spread all over the world. Even if you want to restore it now, it won't help. The world is in turmoil. According to the CP organization of the Four Seas, many pirates from all over the world have begun to enter the Grand Line. This way, the Four Seas can be more stable. Grand Line can help us eliminate many pirates. The blonde five elders knocked on Erlang's leg and replied, those pirates are never the key. The key is the four guys from New World. They thought that the execution of Firefist Ace could solve Whitebeard last time, but I didn't expect him to escape. Gone back. But we can't do anything about New World 147. We can use too little power over there. Let's send CP0 to collect some intelligence in New World. Seconded. Anyway, the key this time is the four emperors. If the four of them are active together, there are too few places where we can intervene in the battlefield of New World. Shichibukai's best to watch, especially Doflamingo. He knows so much, and he is still a clown in the dark world now, so pay attention to him. After hearing the words of the long-haired five elders, the five elders fell silent. Moreover, there is still the unstable existence of Luo Yi. Just when the world government got a headache for the intelligence of the eternal pointer. Come on, what do you want to do? Luo Yi stepped on the monitor and asked. Damn it, puff. When the other party wanted to curse Luo Yi's feet pressed slightly, and the blood in the other party's mouth couldn't help but spurt out. It's boring. Luo Yi stepped on the monitor to death, went back to the coffee shop, sat down, picked up his cup and said. What is this breath? Luo Yi just took a sip of coffee and just wanted to say something to Momosugi. Observation Hockey felt a strong breath. Momosugi also felt this breath. She carefully compared the feeling of this breath. As this breath. Is it Letterfield? Letterfield. Who? Robin looked at Luo Yi questioningly. Luo Yi thought for a while, always felt that the name was familiar, but he didn't seem to remember it. Dahai, is there such a thing? Gion. He looked at Momosugi subconsciously, only to find Momosugi was holding his head like a headache. Luo Yi, that's the legendary big pirate. Momosugi's hand holding the coffee was a little unstable. In the legend, a person can compare the existence of Whitebeard and Roger, the Lonely Red, the Red Earl, and the Letterfield. Oh, it turned out to be him. I remember being defeated by Uncle Sengoku and Kong Kong. Luo Yi nodded, put the finished coffee cup and Bailey on the table, got up and left. Well, go find him to play, It doesn't seem to be necessary. Luo Yi sat down again after speaking. What are you saying? When Robin wanted to ask Luo Yi about the matter, Momosugi suddenly turned his head and looked at the place where Luo Yi had just taken care of the watcher. What? At this moment, there was a series of screams from the back of the street where Luo Yi had cleared the watcher. A group of pirates flew away, and a figure slowly walked up among the crowd. Hey, Luo Yi, it looks like someone is coming. At this moment, Robin in the coffee shop pointed to that side with a cold sweat on his face. Okay, so strong. Can you feel the strength of the breath? Observation Hockey is already a master. As expected, it is me. I can even teach people to learn hockey so quickly. Luo Yi ignored the figure over there, just looked at Robin and nodded, saying that he is a very good teacher. Is it still very fast to teach students? Among the crowd, the person walking slowly, dragging several people who were seriously injured while turning by a Kugan, was another group of Don Quixote pirates who Luo Yi didn't want to control. He is tall and thin, with white hair in two braids hanging over his shoulders, red eyebrows, a gold chain hanging from his mouth, a plum red shirt and blood red trousers, and gold-edged feet on his feet. Black leather shoes, wearing a large blood red cloak with a check pattern inside, a blue rose around his neck, and a slender bat-handled umbrella in his hand. With an evil smile on his face, he put down the many pirates, his figure flashed, and the bar of the coffee shop appeared in the next instant. Standing on the bar looking down, Luo Yi and others said. Your breath is really familiar. Garp's son, he's grown up. It looks like it's him. Lonely Red, Earl Red, Baroque Letterfield 0. Momosugi looked at the other party's clothing and nodded and confirmed. Hearing Momosugi's words, Letterfield looked over, a marine who has turned his back on his faith for the one he loves. Interesting, why did he come here? As soon as he finished speaking, Momosugi didn't even respond, so he nodded. Oh, because my beloved is planning to travel everywhere. Did he follow? Nani? Momosugi's eyes widened. This guy actually saw her thoughts through, as expected of a legendary character. Letterfield said to Momosugi, the idea is wrong. In the so-called legend, it is possible to leave a name on the sea, but I am not qualified to leave a name on the sea, so I came here to look for the strongest opportunity. This experience. Luo Yi saw this scene and stared at the old man standing high above the bar, and sighed, it's a bit disgusting. Monkey D. Luo Yi. Letterfield turned his eyes and said, I know you, a super celebrity recently wanted by the world government, You think being famous is a bad thing, but it's very interesting. Strong enough to read your own heart. Luo Yi's eyebrows sank. Actually, I don't want it either. Letterfield shook his head. Since I was a child, I have been very powerful in seeing and hearing, and I can easily see through people's hearts. Now, it is even stronger. But you can rest assured that people like you can only read the superficial ideas. Quote. I heard that you are on the 6th floor. Did the dead ghost of Blackbeard also let you out? I remember that you were arrested 26 years ago in 5.7. Luo Yi squinted and faced Letterfield. He consciously suppressed his mind, preventing Letterfield from reading his thoughts, and then looked over there. What? Letterfield looked at the sky and sighed in a daze. Let it out. No, I can't say that, it's just that I am willing to come out. Newgate was defeated, Roger was dead. After all, the old guys on the sea are not glorious. Aging is the biggest enemy. It is not defeated by the enemy, but only by the aging of myself, so I came out. Quote. He stretched out his hand and leaned toward the moon. I will find it, restore the power of youth, and then become the strongest man on the sea after Roger and Newgate, to find the only treasure and become the new generation of One Piece. You go on and leave. Luo Yi arched his hands and was about to leave. That won't work.